Chapter 40. All the psychokinesis felt ashamed of their inferiority when they saw this bloody sandstorm. Compared to the mysterious powerhouse, they were simply a bunch of trash. It wasn't what others thought, but what they thought. And all the zombie hunters and all the ordinary soldiers saw this bloody sandstorm. They were all dumbfounded. A soldier saw this scene and forgot to shoot. A zombie hunter saw this scene and forgot to pull out the short knife that had just pierced into the zombie's mouth. They all knew that the mysterious powerhouse was very powerful. He could destroy 40 buildings in an entire neighborhood with one move. But today they realized that their information was outdated. The mysterious powerhouse had reached the point where he could control sandstorms. The power to control nature. This was no longer something that ordinary people could do. It was God. In their knowledge, only God had the power to control nature. It wasn't just the two of them. All the soldiers and zombie hunters were as shocked as them. Their thoughts were the same as theirs. The most shocked person was none other than Lu Wang. This human psychokinesis was actually so powerful. This was no longer a human but a god. He originally thought that he was already very powerful as a level 2 hunter. Even some level 2 or even level 3 psychokinesis were no match for him. But now he was 100% sure. If he were to become enemies with this human, he would be torn to pieces in minutes. At the same time, what made him even more incredulous was that this person was both a hunter and a psychokinesis. He sent the 5 mutant elephants flying 100 meters with one move. This obviously couldn't be psychokinesis, because there was no psychokinesis whose psychokinesis could send a few tons of elephants flying with their psychokinesis. Only a hunter who was stronger than him could do it. And now, the ability of this whirlwind sandstorm was obviously psychokinesis. How was this possible? After the evolution agent was injected, there were 3 situations. Either the enhancement failed and they continued to be ordinary people, or they became a zombie hunter. And the strongest one was psychokinesis. He had never heard of someone who became a zombie hunter and also a psychokinesis. Psychokinesis was strong, but their bodies were as weak as ordinary people. If the enemy got close, it was basically a dead end. And now, this person's psychokinesis was stronger than any psychokinesis he had ever seen. His body was even stronger than a level 2 hunter's. How much did the heavens favor him? Could this guy be God's illegitimate child? At this moment, Mo Sure was carrying the bloody sandstorm with him. It continued to sweep towards those zombies. Wherever the sandstorm passed, not even a blade of grass grew. On a huge rock in the distance, the female zombie in the pleated skirt saw this scene and her heart sank. He already had thoughts of retreating. With such a powerful existence, coming here to attack the city was simply sending their heads to their deaths. However, when he thought of the orders the leader had given him before he left, he felt that it was a bit too late. Her heart couldn't help but tremble. If you fail, I will nail you to the cliff. Let those mutant giant eagles eat your flesh. Who told you to watch yourself being eaten up bit by bit? Thinking of this, she made up her mind. No matter what, they had to take down this base today. But when she saw the bloody sandstorm, she was in a dilemma. If this continued, the 1 million zombies she brought wouldn't be enough to be blown away by the bloody sandstorm. As long as it scraped around the city wall, all the 1 million zombies would be wiped out. The only way now was to let the other zombies attract the powerful human's attention. Then she would send a small group of mutant zombies and mutant beasts to sneak in through the city gate. As long as a zombie entered the city, it would cause a large number of infections. At that time, it wouldn't be difficult to break into the city. Thinking of this, she let out a series of roars. Of course, to humans these were just angry roars. But in fact, she was giving orders to those zombies. Those zombies and mutant beasts heard this order. One by one, they immediately moved towards the city gate. At the same time, Yang Kong also returned to the city gate to defend. The mysterious powerhouse dealt with a large number of zombies and mutant beasts, and the rest of them had to kill the zombies and mutant beasts that escaped the net and defend the city gate. At the same time, he shouted to the top, "Sniper, do you see the zombie on the huge rock?" On the city wall, the sniper was in position. Soon the scope covered the female zombie. This zombie was very beautiful, so beautiful that it made people's hearts beat. However, he only paused for a moment. Then he pulled the trigger. Bang, there was a loud noise. The bullet instantly crossed a distance of more than 800 meters. It flew towards the female zombie's head. However, in the next moment, the sniper's expression changed. Through the scope, he clearly saw that the female zombie's head suddenly tilted. Then she let out an angry roar in his direction. Then she continued to stand on the huge rock and command. In other words, she actually dodged the bullet. The sniper felt that it was incredible. His Adam's apple moved. He didn't believe it. The bullet was loaded. Shoot. The second bullet flew towards the female zombie again. The female zombie tilted her head slightly again. She easily dodged the bullet. Damn it. The sniper cursed. Several soldiers next to him were puzzled. What's going on? You missed twice in a row? This isn't like you. Can't you move after seeing the female zombie? The sniper glared at the soldier next to him and cursed. She can King dodge bullets. The soldiers heard this and were all shocked. A zombie that could dodge bullets, how terrifyingly fast must it be? Under the city wall, Yang roared, "Sniper?" The sniper shouted, "She can dodge bullets." Yang heard this and his heart skipped a beat. It was the first time he heard of a zombie that could dodge bullets. Lu Wang's face was solemn. He shouted, "It was this female zombie that led people to attack our base. More than a dozen hunters in our base died in her hands." In his words there was hatred and fear. This female zombie was the strongest zombie he had ever seen. Even he was far from being her opponent. The female zombie was shot twice in a row by an ordinary human sniper. Although it didn't hurt her, it made her angry. She felt offended. A mere human was nothing more than a worm in her eyes. He actually dared to offend her. Courting death. Thinking of this, she glanced at the bloody sandstorm that was more than 2,000 meters away from the city gate. The sandstorm spun away into the distance. It was obvious that it wanted to circle the city and clear all the zombies. She could use this opportunity to kill her way into the city gate. However, just in case, she waited for a while. He waited until the bloody sandstorm was about 5 kilometers away before he leaped into the air. In an instant she was 100 meters away. Toward the city wall. On the city wall, all the soldiers were shocked when they saw the female zombie's terrifying speed. They quickly raised their guns and fired. However, the female zombie's speed was too fast. Their bullets couldn't catch up with her. When Yang and Lu Wang saw the female zombie rushing over, they quickly blocked in front of her. The genetic weapons on their right arms attacked the female zombie at almost the same time. However, the female zombie's figure flashed. She instantly dodged the two genetic weapons. She swept past the two and went straight to the city gate. Her goal was to attack the city. She wanted to take advantage of the time when the powerful warrior was clearing the zombies to attack. Therefore, she didn't have time to care about Yang and Lu Wang. Seeing that the female zombie was less than 200 meters away from the city gate, everyone's eyes flashed with panic. They didn't doubt that when the powerful warrior finished clearing the 1 million zombies, he could easily kill the female zombie. However, before the powerful warrior returned, how many people would the female zombie kill if she rushed into the city? With her strength, killing 1,000 people in a short time was no problem. Even killing 10,000 people was no problem. What was more terrifying was if she didn't kill people but infected people. Then the number would increase greatly. Just as everyone was panicking, whoosh, a black light streaked across the sky. It directly attacked the female zombie. Chapter 41. The female zombie was only 200 meters away from the city gate. With her speed, she only needed 2 steps to rush into the city gate. Some people with good eyesight could even see the ferocious expression on the female zombie's face. However, at this moment, whoosh, a black stream of light suddenly flew out from the bloody sandstorm that was gradually disappearing into the distance. It instantly crossed the sky. It crossed 5 kilometers. It directly pierced through the female zombie's head. The female zombie was sent flying more than 10 meters by the huge force. Then she was directly nailed to the ground. Her grayish-white eyes were filled with terror and disbelief. She could even dodge bullets. How could she suddenly be stabbed to death by a javelin? At this moment, everyone looked at the female zombie. She was obviously not breathing at all. Her head was nailed to the ground by a pitch-black javelin. More than half of the javelin was buried in the ground. Only about a meter long was left outside. Hiss! The captain of the zombie hunters in Area A on the city wall couldn't help but gasp. Hiss! The effeminate vice-captain Guijutao also sucked in a breath of cold air. When everyone saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Even a sniper's bullet couldn't do anything to the female zombie. But she was instantly killed by a black javelin shot out from the bloody sandstorm. One could imagine how shocked they were. Below the city wall, the short-haired woman kicked a zombie away. Looking back, she saw this scene. In shock, she couldn't help but say, "What the F***ck?" Then looking at the bloody sandstorm that was gradually fading away, she gave a thumbs up. Mysterious strong man, he's awesome. At this moment, no one was as shocked as Lu Wang. He had seen this female zombie fight before. He knew how strong this female zombie was. Their base's 3 level 3 hunters and more than 10 psychokinesis joined forces to besiege this female zombie. But they were killed by this female zombie in one move. Their base, through long-term research, divided mutated zombies into 2 major levels: mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies. Mutated zombies, level 1 to 10, corresponded to the hunters level 1 to 10. Strong mutated zombies, level 1 to 10, corresponded to the hunters level 1 to 10. There was a huge difference between each level of a hunter's strength. A level 2 hunter could easily crush 100 level 1 hunters. Similarly, the strength gap between strong mutated zombies was also huge. And this female zombie had already reached the strength of a level 4 strong mutant zombie. That was equivalent to a level 4 hunter. Therefore, they could easily crush any hunters and psychokinesis below level 3 in their base. But now, he had been killed by a javelin, that bloody sandstorm that had been casually thrown over 5,000 meters. Moreover, bloody sandstorm was cleaning up the zombies. It was obvious that it had only thrown a javelin in passing. Then, he would be able to cross 5,000 meters and kill the female zombie. How strong was the person in the sandstorm? He must be at least a level 5 hunter, right? Hiss. Thinking of this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. A level 5 hunter was a powerful existence that he had never seen before. Before today, he didn't even think that there was a level 5 hunter in the world. This was because base C9 was one of the first bases to develop the X2 evolution agent. Not a single level 4 hunter had appeared in their base. Naturally, it was impossible for other bases to have a level 5 hunter. But now the truth was right in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. Actually, he didn't know that Immortal was only a level 4 hunter. The reason why he could kill a level 5 strong mutant zombie was because of the Sky Splitter Dragon Spear. How could something that was associated with the word Sky Splitter be ordinary? How could something that was associated with the word dragon be ordinary? The Dragon Spear had a strong restraining effect on zombies. In addition, the Dragon Spear's flying speed was extremely fast. The female zombie couldn't dodge it at all. That was why she was instantly killed. At the same time, what shocked everyone was the accuracy of this javelin. Crossing 5 kilometers, it was actually able to hit the head of the female zombie, who was running at a speed of 100 meters per second. Even a sniper might not be able to do that. But the mysterious powerhouse actually did it. How many handguns did he shoot to be able to train such accuracy? Actually, they didn't know that in the bloody sandstorm, Immortal had already condensed a second Sky Splitter Dragon Spear in his hand. He originally thought that if the first one didn't hit, he would throw another one. If the second one didn't hit, he would throw the third one. If it really didn't work, he would return to kill the female zombie. He didn't expect to hit the target with one shot. Putting away the Sky Splitter Dragon Spear in his hand, he continued to whip the bloody sandstorm and swept forward. In the place where the bloody sandstorm passed, only a 1,200 meters wide bloody mud area was left on the ground. Half an hour later, the bloody sandstorm circled around the city wall and swept around. All the zombies and mutant beasts had been cleaned up. There was a layer of bloody mist floating around the entire base. The entire base was filled with the smell of blood. Everyone watched as the blood-colored sandstorm slowly disappeared. Their gazes were fixed on the center of the sandstorm. They were looking forward to seeing the mysterious powerhouse. This wasn't the first time the mysterious powerhouse had saved them. They wanted to thank the mysterious powerhouse in person. However, when the bloody sandstorm completely disappeared, the thousands of bloody stones had turned into bloody mud and fell from the sky. They didn't see the figure of the mysterious powerhouse at all. It turned out that Immortal had been more than 10 seconds before. He had already jumped out of the bloody sandstorm. He had crossed the part of the city wall that was more loosely guarded. At this time, everyone's attention was on the bloody sandstorm, so naturally no one noticed him. Everyone was a little disappointed that they didn't see the mysterious powerhouse. After being stunned for a moment, Yang Kong slowly bent down. He faced the place where the bloody sandstorm disappeared. He bowed deeply. He said loudly, "Thank you." This was a voice that came from the bottom of his heart. Other than Lu Wang, everyone else bowed deeply when they heard this. This was the third time the mysterious powerhouse had saved the base. He had saved all of their lives. If it weren't for the mysterious powerhouse, the base would have probably ceased to exist 5 years ago, or even 7 or 8 years ago. And in the past 10 years, the mysterious powerhouse had saved them many times, but he had never asked for anything from them. The mysterious powerhouse was worthy of being called great. They had no way of repaying this kindness. They couldn't even say thank you in person. They could only silently remember this kindness. Remember it for life. Lu Wang's eyes reddened when he saw this. If their C9 base had such a powerful existence back then, the wall wouldn't have been breached and more than 100,000 people would have died. At the same time, hope rose in his eyes. Then with a plop, he knelt on the ground. He said loudly, "Mysterious powerhouse, please help me help the remaining 1,000 people in our base. They have been trapped in the underground shelter for 5 months. The ground above the shelter is full of mutated zombies and mutated beasts. Please come with me and bring them over. I beg you." After saying that, he kowtowed heavily in the direction where the bloody sandstorm disappeared. Bang! As a level 2 hunter, his physical strength was far stronger than ordinary people. This kowtow was so loud. The tremor caused some dust to rise from the ground near his head. However, after a long time, the blood-red sandstorm was silent. Chapter 42. At this time, Mo Shi was sticking close to the ground and quickly running towards the wall of the second line of defense. His body and clothes had turned into the same green color as the wheat seedlings on the ground. If the people on the wall didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice him at all. What's more, their attention was focused outside the wall. He certainly heard Lu Wang's words. But he didn't plan to help Lu Wang. Base C9 was more than 500 kilometers away. How many zombies and mutant beasts were there? And after base C9 was breached, there would be zombies and mutant beasts everywhere. With the base behind him, even if he encountered more powerful mutant zombies and mutant beasts, he still had a way out. But if he went there, he wouldn't be able to get help. Although he was strong, he wasn't strong enough to walk freely in the wilderness. He wasn't a saint, so he naturally wouldn't go so far and take such a big risk to save people. It's still the same sentence in the apocalypse. Survival was the way to go. Lu Wang saw that there was no response for a long time, and his eyes were a little complicated. He looked up and asked Yang Kong next to him, "The mysterious strong man you mentioned, will he go?" Yang Kong shook his head, "I don't know." Lu Wang was silent for a moment and asked again, "Will you go?" Yang Kong nodded. "Since the base chief promised you and you helped us develop the X2 virus evolution agent, I think the chief will definitely send someone to go with you." Lu Wang's eyes showed a glimmer of hope. But when he looked at the place where the sandstorm disappeared, he couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If the mysterious strong man could go with them, they would definitely be able to save more than 1,000 people. At this time, in the base's main monitoring room, the base chief saw that all the zombies were cleared and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Phew! He leaned back in the chair tiredly. "Chief, thanks to the mysterious strong man, he saved the base again. This isn't the first time. With him, our base won't be breached." A staff officer next to him said. The base chief nodded. Then he lit a cigarette and took a deep breath. The tiredness on his face gradually dissipated, and a kind smile appeared on his face again. He said, "It's a pity that I can't thank him in person." The staff officer nodded. "Everyone in the base wants to thank him in person. I just don't know why he has been hiding his identity." The bureau chief said, "Such a mysterious expert who only gives and doesn't ask for anything. We must thank him properly. How about this? Get someone to come up with a plan and launch a search for the mysterious powerhouse and thank the mysterious powerhouse campaign. We must hold a grand ceremony to thank the mysterious expert. He saved the base so many times, but he didn't get anything in return. This time we have to change the way we thank him. It's no longer spoken, nor is it in my heart. Instead, I'll let him reap the benefits." The staff officer nodded again but then shook his head. "Chief, it's only right to thank him. However, he had been hiding his identity. Perhaps he didn't want to be disturbed. In the past, we spontaneously organized many activities to search for mysterious powerhouses, but in the end we found nothing. If we do that, wouldn't it be bad?" The bureau chief took a puff of his cigarette and exhaled a cloud of smoke. He said, "You're right. However, he should be able to understand our feelings. And this time I'll personally come out and publicly invite him to come out. As long as he's willing, I can even give him the position of the base chief." The staff officer was stunned. "Chief, you," the base chief smiled bitterly, shook his head and said, "I'm old. It's time for me to retire. This defense of the city showed me how powerless I am in such a large-scale battle. Therefore, us old guys have to give up our positions. Letting more capable people take over is good for everyone in our base." The staff officer's eyes flickered. He felt a little heartache and a little admiration. "Chief, you're really great." The base chief laughed. "You've learned how to flatter?" The staff officer shook his head. "It's not flattery. It's from the bottom of my heart. The bureau chief waved his hand and said, "Oh right, the surveillance footage just now might have captured the mysterious powerhouse. Try to send someone to look through all the surveillance footage." The staff officer's eyes lit up. "That's a good idea. Chief, I'll get someone to do it now." An hour later, the staff officer reported in disappointment, "Chief, we've already looked through all the surveillance footage by the city wall 3 times. We can only find an afterimage." As he spoke, he showed the footage. On the screen, only an afterimage could be seen flashing past the camera. Only a blur could be seen. Even the outline of the figure couldn't be seen. The bureau chief also shook his head in disappointment. This footage was meaningless. "Okay, go and get someone to plan the event." The staff officer nodded. "Yes." He turned and left. The bureau chief stared at the sky outside the window. He muttered, "Who the hell are you? I'm old. It's time for me to retire. If there's anyone in the base who can replace me, it's only you. Please show yourself for the 100,000 people in the base." At the same time, outside the base, at the top of a poplar tree in the distance, a huge strange bird was squatting on a branch. It didn't have a single feather on its body. Its head was like an owl's, but the wings on its back were like those of a bat. After everything quieted down, it flapped its wings, spread its 4-meter-wide wings and flew far away. More than 3 hours later, this mutant owl came to a mountain village. The mountain village looked very quiet and peaceful. But the mutant owl knew how many powerful zombies there were here. This mutant owl landed in a courtyard in the middle of the village. Then it slowly jumped into a house from the courtyard. In the house, a zombie was staring at the distant sky. This zombie had 3 deep claw marks on its face that were so deep that the bones could be seen. These 3 claw marks started from its left eye and extended diagonally down to the right corner of its mouth. Its nose had long disappeared. More than half of the flesh on its mouth had been peeled off by the claw marks. It looked very ferocious. The mutant owl's mouth let out a roar that only zombies could understand. "Leader, we failed." This leader was a level 7 strong mutant zombie. His strength was equivalent to a level 7 hunter. He let out a terrifying roar from his throat. "How could we fail? That was 1 million zombies. Even if it was him, it would take 2 to 3 months to mobilize 1 million zombies." The mutant owl's blood-red eyes let out a roar. That mysterious powerhouse. Another mysterious powerhouse. There was a trace of anger in the leader's grayish-white eyes. The owl hissed, "Leader, in my opinion that human powerhouse is probably a level 6 hunter. Only you can kill him personally." The leader frowned slightly. "If he's just a level 6 hunter, of course I can. But he's still psychokinesis, which is a little troublesome." The owl hissed, "Leader, what should we do? Just watch this human get stronger and stronger?" The zombie leader said, "Soon I will be able to advance to level 8. At that time, my strength will be more than 100 times stronger. At that time, it will be the death of this human." At this point he roared towards the sky. Roar? Hearing this, the mutant owl also let out a hoarse roar. Hiss. Chapter 43. 43 System Upgrade in the Base. Immortal sneaked back to the zombie farm. With his strength, Old Lee and Happy naturally couldn't find out that he sneaked out. He returned to his room and took off his color-changing camouflage uniform. As soon as he turned around, he threw himself on the bed. His head was swollen. He felt dizzy. For half an hour he used his telekinesis at a high intensity. His telekinesis had been overdrawn. Telekinesis was not like physical strength. When physical strength was exhausted, there was a recovery potion. When telekinesis was exhausted, there was no potion to recover it. And when physical strength was exhausted, even if there was no recovery potion, it could be recovered with a sleep. But when telekinesis was exhausted, it would take a long time to slowly recover. He smiled bitterly. But he was still very satisfied with his current strength. One person's strength, millions of corpses. Who else in this world could do it? And he hadn't used his full strength yet. But he didn't relax because of this. The appearance of the beautiful zombie made him vigilant. The strength of the beautiful zombie was obviously much stronger than ordinary mutated zombies. Then it was very likely that there were even more powerful mutated zombies. So he still had to continue to sign in and become stronger. Facing those mutated zombies, he didn't just have to be able to kill them. He had to crush them. Just as he was thinking of this, the system's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. "The system can be upgraded, do you want to upgrade now?" Immortal was happy when he heard this. What he wanted came true. It seemed that the last time the system was upgraded after he killed a large number of zombies. This time it was still the same. He immediately said without hesitation, "Upgrade. Upgrade requires 12 hours. During the upgrade you can't sign in." The system reminded. Then the upgrade began. 12 hours later, it was around 3 o'clock in the night. The system's voice sounded again. However, Mo Sure had already calculated the time when the upgrade would be completed. He was just waiting for this moment. Upgrade successful. Reward obtained, 5 brain cell recovery potions. Reward obtained, 10 enhanced Titan Dragon gene enhancers. Reward obtained, 10 recovery potions. Reward obtained, 5 brain cell enhancers. Reward obtained, 1,000 bloodthirsty corpse slaying flying knives. When Mo Sure saw these rewards, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but smile again. These were all things that he needed the most right now. With a thought, he took out a brain cell recovery potion from his backpack. The brain cell recovery drug was dark red in color, like the color of wine. He took it orally. He opened his mouth and swallowed it. The next moment he felt that the swelling pain in his head was quickly disappearing. In just 5 minutes he felt refreshed. He was overjoyed. The system's reward this time could be considered a kind one. He put away the remaining 4 brain cell recovery serums. Then he injected the enhanced Titan Dragon gene enhancer and brain cell enhancer into his brain. At that moment he felt that both his telekinesis and his physical strength had become much stronger. Given his strength, he should be able to make a breakthrough soon. After using a large amount of telekinesis this time, his telekinesis had increased a lot. Now he had been injected with 5 doses of brain cell enhancers. His telekinesis had increased by a lot. This filled him with confidence. At the same time, the system's voice sounded again. The content of this upgrade is as follows. 1. System Backpack Expansion. Each slot in the system backpack can store up to 10 items of the same type. 2. Sign-in Reward Designated System. Killing zombies can obtain evolution points. Evolution points can be used to exchange for designated rewards. Note: when designating rewards, the location can be ignored. You can only specify rewards that have appeared in the system before. 3. Event Reward Mechanism. After doing a specific event, you can receive the relevant reward. The content of the upgrade was a bit too much. For Mo Sure, who was afraid of trouble, it seemed to be a bit of a headache. After reading it a few times, he more or less understood the system's meaning. Backpack expansion was needless to say. After the upgrade, each slot could store up to 10 items of the same type. At most, it could store up to 1,000 items. This was better than his personal storage. Designated sign-in reward, which meant that as long as he killed zombies, he would obtain evolution points. He could use these evolution points to exchange for designated rewards. He could obtain whatever reward he wanted. This was very practical. Event Reward Mechanism, which meant that he could obtain relevant rewards for doing things. This was very easy to understand. For example, after killing zombies, he could obtain zombie-related rewards. It was 3 o'clock at night. Mo Sure quietly left the zombie farm and crossed the base's wall. He arrived at the abandoned city outside the base. In the city there were still some zombies wandering around. Mo Sure moved his telekinesis and controlled a bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife to fly towards a zombie. This bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife was the same as the bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife in terms of material, color, and shape. The only difference was that the bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife was a bit smaller. However, although it was called a knife, it was not that small. Every bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife was 1 foot long. Mo Sure controlled the bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife and directly pierced through a 20-centimeter concrete wall and hit a zombie. It was insta-killed on the spot. Mo Sure was happy. Using telekinesis to control the bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife to kill zombies. It was much better than controlling rocks. Using rocks would not be able to penetrate the wall so easily. It must be known that the sharper the controlled object, the less telekinesis needed to penetrate the zombie's body. He could clearly feel that controlling the bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife consumed much less telekinesis than using rocks to kill zombies. He estimated that it was only 1/10. Moreover, the bloodthirsty corpse-slaying knife could also absorb the zombie's blood and turn it into acid. This was something that rocks could not compare to. Very quickly, a system notification appeared in his mind. Killed 1 normal zombie. Gained 1 evolution point. Mo Sure asked, "How many points do I need to exchange for a chance to choose a reward?" The system's voice sounded. 1,000 points are required for each exchange. Damn. Mo Sure was speechless. If the system had leveled up earlier, Wouldn't he have gained 1,000,000 evolution points from killing 1,000,000 zombies during the day? Next he circled around the base. After circling around he killed more than 1,000 zombies. Among these zombies there was a mutated zombie. A notification immediately appeared in his mind. Killed one mutated zombie. Gained 100 evolution points. Immortal secretly nodded. A level 1 mutated zombie gave him 100 evolution points. This was not bad. At this time his evolution points had reached 1123. He said in his mind. System, exchange for a chance to choose a reward. Exchange successful. Host, which reward do you want to choose? Immortal did not hesitate and said. Brain cell enhancer. Now that he had 1,000 bloodthirsty corpse slaying knives. If he did not strengthen his telekinesis, wouldn't it be a waste? Chapter 44. Immortal spent 1,000 evolution points in exchange for a chance to designate a reward. The system said frowny face, please select your designated reward. Immortal said without hesitation, brain cell enhancer. The system's voice sounded frowny face, you have designated the reward. After signing in you can only receive this item. Immortal looked around. This was an abandoned shopping mall. He said, system, sign in. Sign in successful. Sign in reward, brain cell enhancer X1. In the next moment, a brain cell enhancer appeared in his system backpack. He was secretly delighted. The designated reward was indeed useful. He could specify the reward he wanted, and he could also ignore the location. This way, as long as he had enough evolution points in the future. Wouldn't that mean he wouldn't have to run out of the base every night like this? Just lying in bed he could sign in the reward he wanted. Not only was it comfortable, but he wasn't afraid of being seen by others and arousing suspicion. Thinking of this, Immortal was overjoyed. He spent more than 3 hours expanding the hunting range. He cleaned up the zombies within 10 kilometers of the base. In this way he obtained more than 3,000 evolution points. His blood demons, I could see the corpse aura. Therefore it was effortless to find zombies. Although it was night, his blood demons, I could see the corpse aura in the direction of the dam. Of course there wasn't as much corpse aura as last time. He immediately rushed to the dam. In the end he found that there were tens of thousands of zombies gathered here. Among them there were more than 10 mutated zombies. He killed these zombies and mutated zombies. In just one night he had obtained 15,000 evolution points. In other words, for the next half a month, he would be able to get the reward he wanted by signing in every day while lying in bed. The east was gradually brightening. Immortal, who had been busy all night, took out a few fried dough sticks and a bowl of steaming hot soy milk from his system backpack. On this winter morning, a bowl of soy milk with a few fried dough sticks. Was there anything more satisfying than this? If anyone else saw someone eating fried dough sticks and drinking soy milk in this zombie-infested wilderness, their eyes would have popped out. Their eyeballs would probably fall out. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Immortal started to walk. One step covered 100 meters. He flew toward the base. While the soldiers on the city wall were changing shifts, they easily leaped over the city wall. When they returned to the corpse farm, Old Lee and Happy had not woken up yet. Immortal went back to his room and fell asleep immediately. When he woke up, it was already around 3 in the afternoon. When Happy saw that Immortal had not woken up yet, he had already fed the pigs and zombies for him. There were a lot of zombies in the zombie farm. The 3 of them each had to feed at least 30 zombies and 50 pigs. When Happy saw that Immortal had woken up, he quickly jogged over. She looked at him with concern. Immortal felt a slight warmth in his heart as he smiled and said, I'm fine. I just read too late last night. It was only then that Happy felt at ease. He used his hands to gesture. This meant that he had already brought back 2 meals for Immortal. Immortal nodded. He patted Happy's head. He messed up her neatly combed hair and said, how sensible. Happy was not angry when Immortal messed up her hair. Instead she smiled happily. When she first came to the corpse farm she was only 15 years old. Immortal taught her how to feed the pigs and zombies step by step. Gradually the 2 of them became familiar with each other. Occasionally when they played around, Immortal would ruffle her hair until it was messed up. Now, even though she had grown into a slender and elegant woman, she still liked Immortal ruffling her hair. When Old Lee saw this, he waved his hand and called Immortal over. Young Immo, you're not young anymore, right? Immortal looked at Old Lee warily. What do you want? Old Lee cast a glance at Happy and said, haven't you considered getting a girlfriend? Immortal shrugged. I've thought about it, but I'm just a pig farmer. Who would like me? Old Lee whispered, I think Happy is good. Even though she doesn't know how to talk, she's pretty and considerate. Also, haven't you noticed that the girl has been interested in you since a long time ago? Ah, Emosure really did not notice this. From the moment Happy first came, he only treated her as a little girl. Later on, even though the two of them had a good relationship, Emosure only treated her as a younger sister. He only treated Happy's concern for him as a younger sister's feelings for her older brother. When he thought of this, he could not help but glance at Happy, who was busy working. He could not help but think of a sentence. I treat you as a younger sister, but you want to? He turned around and said to Old Lee, how do you know? Maybe she only treats me as an older brother. Old Lee rolled his eyes at Emosure. I've been there before. Besides, my legs are bad, not my eyes. If you're willing, I'll go and find out for you. Emosure was silent. About that, Old Lee said, don't tell me you think she can't talk. Emosure shook his head. Of course not. I'm just curious. Why did you suddenly think of this today? Old Lee sighed and said, sigh? I'm old. I have no children in my life. All these years, I've treated you and Happy as my children. Before I close my eyes, I want to see a result between the two of you. That way I can be at ease. Emosure smiled and said, why are you suddenly saying this? It's like you're saying your last words. Old Lee rolled his eyes at Emosure and said, give me a straight answer. Are you willing or not? Emosure hesitated for a moment and suddenly remembered something. He shook his head. Let's not talk about this for now. That night after 12 o'clock. Emosure said in his mind, System, exchange for a designated reward. The system's voice sounded. Please choose your designated reward. Emosure said, Brain Cell Enhancer. Soon, a brain cell enhancer appeared in his backpack. After the injection, he felt that his mental power had increased a little. Emosure was secretly happy. He did not need to go outside. He could get the reward he wanted in the house. This kind of feeling was very good. For the next few days, Emosure designated the brain cell enhancer every day. Finally this day, after another injection of the brain cell enhancer, his mental power leveled up. Level 7 Psychokinesis. When he reached out with his mental power, he could instantly cover a radius of 700 meters, which was 1,400 meters in diameter. Within this range, everything was clearly visible to him. He scanned with his mental power. He could easily detect Old Lee, who was snoring, and the happy smile on his face when he was sleeping. Moreover, every time psychokinesis leveled up, there would be a drastic change in his combat power. After reaching level 7, his combat power had greatly increased once again. He estimated that it would not be a problem for him to deal with a level 8 hunter or a level 8 strong mutant zombie. Of course, the concept of a strong mutant zombie was also introduced by Lu Wang. The day after he reached level 7 psychokinesis, the base announced a decision. They planned to send 3 psychokinesis, 3 hunters and 100 hunters. They would go to the ruins of base C9 to rescue more than 1,000 people. Chapter 45. Originally, after solving the crisis of the base according to the agreement with Lu Wang, the base should immediately send people to rescue the 1,000 people. But the gate of the base needs to be repaired. And dealing with the 1 million zombies and mutant beast corpses also needs manpower. Lu Wang also expressed his understanding, saying that the 1,000 people can still hold on for a month. And these hunters who have just evolved also need time to settle down. So until today, 10 days after the zombie siege, the base announced that they will set out to rescue the 1,000 people. Of course, in these 10 days, the base chief didn't stay idle. He organized many Find the Mysterious Elite, Thank the Mysterious Elite activities. Emosure didn't care about this and still didn't show up. This made the base chief and everyone in the base very disappointed. The most disappointed person was Lu Wang. If the Mysterious Elite could show up, maybe he could ask the Mysterious Elite to rescue the 1,000 people with him. In fact, when Emosure heard the news of rescuing those people, he already decided to go. He didn't go before because it was dangerous. Secondly, it wasn't good for him. But now it's different. Killing zombies can give evolution points. There should be a lot of zombies in the C9 base. And with so many psychokinesis and hunters going, he naturally has to go and take a look. But before he leaves, he has one more thing to do. He spent 2 days to specify the signing reward. He signed 2 Virus X antibodies. Since he signed in for more than 10 years, the Virus X antibodies only appeared once. Now that he can specify the signing reward, he signed it. On the same day, Emosure gave the 2 antibodies to Happy and Old Lee. He let them inject it themselves. Oldly was still a little confused and asked, "What is this? Where did you get it?" Happy didn't hesitate. After so many years, she has unconditional trust in Immortal. When Immortal told her to inject it, she immediately injected it. After the injection, she didn't feel anything special. Immortal said to Oldly, "Don't ask. Just inject it. It won't do you any harm, only good." Oldly looked at Happy and saw that Happy didn't seem to have any adverse reactions. He shook his head and said, "Fine. I'm almost 70 years old anyway. I've lived enough." Immediately, he did not ask any more questions and injected the virus X antibody into his body. Based on his understanding of Immortal, for him to be so mysterious, it must be something good. On that day, the rescue team consisting of 3 psychokinesis, 3 hunters and 50 level 10 hunters left the base. They were heading towards base C9. Immortal did not follow him immediately. Instead, he waited for the night 2 days after they left. He called Happy over and gave him an order in a low voice. "I have something to do outside the base. I estimate that it will take 10 days to half a month for him to return. Help me look after my work here for a while." It was rare for people to come to the corpse farm. As long as it didn't affect their work, even the leaders didn't come here often. Happy looked at Immortal, and a hint of worry appeared in his eyes. Immortal smiled and rubbed her head, messing up her hair. He said, "Don't worry. Heaven helps the worthy. There won't be any problems. I'll be back in half a month at most." Happy was a girl and she was very careful. In addition, she was interested in Immortal and paid attention to his every move. Hence, over the years she had noticed that Immortal had some secrets. When she heard him say this, her eyes became slightly moist. She gestured with sign language. She meant, "Then we have an agreement. You must come back in half a month." Immortal nodded. "Don't worry. If anyone asks, help me smooth things over." Happy nodded. In the next moment, Immortal's figure flashed. He instantly jumped more than 100 meters and jumped over the wall. When Happy saw this, shock appeared on her face. Could Brother Immo be a hunter? No, seeing how fast Brother Immo was, he might not be a hunter anymore. He was a hunter. This thought made Happy feel incredulous. She had been in the corpse farm for so many years, and she knew that Brother Immo had many secrets. But she did not expect that Brother Immo was actually a hunter. But if he was a hunter, why did he become an inconspicuous and even looked down upon zombie keeper? Suddenly, a ridiculous thought flashed in Happy's mind. Could Brother Immo be the mysterious powerful fighter? To hide his identity, did he deliberately become a zombie keeper? After all, no matter who it was, no one would associate the mysterious powerful fighter with an inconspicuous zombie keeper. When this thought flashed in Happy's mind, he was shocked. Without moving, he could instantly kill more than 1,000 zombies. With the blood-red sandstorm, he killed more than 1 million zombies. He saved the base from danger multiple times. This mysterious powerful fighter was actually Brother Immo? How was this possible? Mysterious powerful fighter and zombie keeper. These two were practically two extremes. How could they be the same person? However, when this thought appeared, it grew madly like weeds. She could not suppress it anymore. Although her rationality told her that it was impossible, she could not help but think in that direction. If Brother Immo was really the mysterious powerful fighter, then what was he doing now? Was he following the rescue team to save those 1,000 people? How dangerous would that be? When she thought of this, a hint of worry appeared in her eyes. At the same time, more than 500 kilometers away, in an inconspicuous mountain village more than 50 kilometers to the southeast of the ruins of Base C9, suddenly there was a shocking roar. Roar? At that moment, all the zombies hidden in the mountain village and around it raised their heads in horror and looked at the largest house in the mountain village. At that moment, in that house, a zombie slowly walked out. There were 3 claw marks on his face. These 3 claw marks extended diagonally from his left eye to the right corner of his mouth. His nose had long since disappeared. Most of the flesh on his mouth had also been peeled off by the claw marks. At a glance, one could see his exposed sharp teeth. He looked very ferocious. However, at that moment, his grayish-white eyes flashed with excitement. Just now he had become a level 8 strong mutated zombie. As a level 8 strong mutated zombie, his strength had increased by 100 times. Outside the courtyard, on a withered old tree, a mutated owl without any feathers on its body and with bat-like wings. It spread its wings and landed heavily. This mutated owl actually lowered its head in a very human-like manner. It let out an unpleasant hiss. However, if one could understand the language of zombies, they would know. It was saying, "Congratulations to the leader for becoming a level 8 strong mutated zombie." The zombie with 3 claw marks let out a laughter like a broken gong from its throat. "GGGG," the mutated owl said, "Leader, after being promoted to level 8, your strength has increased by 100 times. Can we go hunt that human now?" The zombie with 3 claw marks let out a roar. It said, "That human, a mere reptile, how can he compete with me? Let someone bring him over now." The blood-red eyes of the mutated owl suddenly flashed with a touch of revenge. It said, "Yes, leader." At the same time, Immortal had already run out of the base. Looking at the direction, he followed the path made by the rescue team and quickly moved forward. His speed was extremely fast. One step was 140 meters. It only took one night. At dawn, he saw the rescue team from afar. At this time, the rescue team was looking ahead, and each of them had a look of horror on their faces. Chapter 46. That morning just after dawn, Immortal was already on top of a mountain and saw the rescue team from a distance. The rescue team seemed to be facing some problems. But Immortal didn't plan to go there for the time being. He wasn't the nanny of the rescue team. He looked around and found that 2 kilometers to the left was an abandoned city. And judging by the size, it should have been a medium-large city. There should be a lot of zombies in the city. He entered the abandoned city along the half-collapsed toll station exit that was full of dry weeds. In this city, the zombies hadn't had anything to eat for more than 10 years. One by one, their bodies shriveled up. Their skin had turned blue-black. Each one was skin and bones. Ribs were clearly visible. One could even occasionally see 1 or 2 zombies lying on the ground on the streets full of dry weeds. Some bodies seemed to be half-eaten by something. Some only had white bones left. They wandered weakly on the streets, in the shopping malls, and in the buildings. Ordinary zombies could live for a long time without eating. But if they didn't eat for a long time, their bodies would lose energy and they would still slowly starve to death. Immortal thought that if this continued, humans would persist for more than 10 years. When all the zombies starved to death, human civilization would begin to recover. But unfortunately, this idea was not realistic. Many of the zombies had become mutated zombies or strong mutated zombies. Mutated zombies were stronger and their bodies weakened slower. It was estimated that they wouldn't starve to death in another few decades. As for strong mutated zombies, they would live for 100 years. What's more, he didn't know if there were zombies stronger than strong mutated zombies. Shaking his head, Immortal threw these thoughts out of his head. Looking at the street full of withered weeds, there was a rusty can that was out of shape. He kicked lightly with his foot. The cans began to clatter. The next moment, all the zombies on the streets, in the shopping malls, and in the buildings heard the sound. They immediately turned their heads and looked in the direction of the sound. When they saw Immortal, they were like people who had just been released from prison after 10 years and saw their wife. They all roared. Like wolves and tigers, they rushed toward Immortal. If someone were to look down from the sky, you will see Immortal as the center. All the zombies within a 1-kilometer radius gathered towards the center. Immortal smiled. With a thought, 1,000 flying daggers instantly appeared around him. Each flying dagger was about a foot long. Its entire body was pitch black. It doesn't reflect light even in the sun. The blade was made up of dozens of components. It was very technological. Then, the 1,000 bloodthirsty corpse-slaying flying daggers began to circle around Immortal at high speed. It formed a huge circle of flying knives with a diameter of 1,400 meters. 1,000 flying daggers was naturally not a lot in such an open area. However, under the control of Immortal's telekinesis, the 100 flying daggers flew at an extremely fast speed. As a result, the interior of this circle with a diameter of 1,400 meters was like a huge meat grinder. There were 3 buildings within 1,400 meters. After being twisted, they collapsed one after another. Within 1,400 meters, almost all the zombies were torn into pieces in an instant. Moreover, even these fragments were turning into blood-red mucus. Green smoke was sizzling. At the same time, the system prompt kept appearing in his mind: frowny face, evolution point +1, evolution point +1, evolution point +1. In just an instant, more than 400 zombies were killed in the surroundings. He obtained more than 400 evolution points, and the movement here attracted the attention of the zombies further away. They also chased over here one after another. This also saved Immortal the trouble of running over. He stood in place and controlled this huge meat grinder. He continuously killed the zombies. At the same time, 2 kilometers away, on the edge of a broken bridge covered by withered vines, the people of the rescue team were looking at a mountain on the opposite side worriedly. On that mountain, almost the entire cliff was covered with mutated bats. None of these bats had skin. Blood-red flesh was directly exposed to the outside. It was covered in blood-red mucus. And each of them was the size of a cat. Although mutated bats were only level 5 mutated beasts, they were equivalent to level 5 zombie hunters. Anyone here would be able to kill dozens of them in seconds. But the key point was that there were too many mutated bats. The entire cliff on the opposite side was densely covered with mutated bats. A rough estimate was that there were probably close to 100,000 bats. People with trypophobia would probably vomit just by looking at it. If they wanted to go to C9 base, this was the only way. Otherwise, they would have to go around more than 7 times the distance. In the wilderness, the longer the distance, the more dangerous it was. So at this time, everyone was worried. Wu Jiutao frowned and stroked a strand of hair in front of his forehead. His voice was a bit feminine as he asked, "Lu Wang, how did you get here?" Lu Wang bitterly smiled and said, "At that time there were no mutated bats here. That cross-eyed little bean had also become a level 10 corpse hunter." He opened his mouth and said, "Why don't we rest for an hour first? We'll think of a way while resting." Just as he said this, he suddenly heard a large number of roars from the city 2 kilometers away. Even if they were 2 kilometers away, they could imagine the situation there. Everyone's heart trembled. In order to avoid the zombies, they specifically went around that city. How could the zombies there still be alarmed? At the same time, the sissy Wu Jiutao noticed something and whispered to everyone, "Oh no, those mutated bats seem to be alarmed." Everyone looked at the cliff on the opposite side. On the entire cliff, all the mutated bats' wings were trembling slightly. It was obvious that they were about to be awakened by the loud roar. Lu Wang hurriedly whispered, "Hide." Everyone immediately stuck close to the ground and flashed into the bushes next to the broken bridge. After a while, they saw a mutated bat move its head. Then it flapped its wings and hovered near the cliff. It was like a mother waking her child up for dinner. Another 5 minutes later, all the mutated bats began to flap their wings and wake up. Finally, under the leadership of the mutated Bat King, they flew over everyone's heads and flew in the direction of the city. When the crowd saw this, they all revealed a look of panic. Little Bean pointed at the broken bridge on the opposite side and then at the tunnel on the opposite side of the cliff. He asked, "Should we go now or wait?" Lu Wang said, "Wait. Maybe there are mutated beasts in the tunnel." Everyone's heart trembled again when they heard this. "Let's go to a higher place first and try to see what's going on in the city," Wu Jiutao suggested. Lu Wang nodded. "Me, Captain Gua, and Psychokinesis will take a look at the ridge over there. The rest of you stay here and wait for orders." Everyone immediately nodded. So, Wu Jiutao, Lu Wang, and Psychokinesis quietly sneaked in the direction of the ridge. Chapter 47. When Wu Jiutao, Lu Wang, and Psychokinesis were sneaking towards the mountain ridge. In the city, Mo had already killed thousands of zombies. 1,000 bloodthirsty corpse beheading knives formed a huge black tornado. All the zombies that entered the range of the black tornado would be instantly torn to pieces. They would not be turned into blood-red slime. In just a few minutes, he had already obtained more than 3,000 evolution points. Mo sighed in his heart. There were more people in the big city. However, there were fewer mutated zombies here. This made him a little depressed. Seeing that the zombies nearby were getting fewer and fewer, he began to walk forward. And as he walked forward, within a diameter of 1,400 meters, the throwing knives easily passed through all kinds of buildings. These buildings began to collapse. On the mountain ridge 2 kilometers away, Wu Jiutao and the other 2 could not see the people in the city. They only saw the buildings, like dominoes, collapsing one after another. Smoke and dust began to slowly rise, covering the city and the nearby hills. The 3 of them were all shocked. What was this thing that could cause such great destruction? Wu Jiutao could not help but cover his mouth with his hand, and exclaimed in a very feminine voice, "Oh my God!" The other 2 turned their heads and looked at Wu Jiutao. Wu Jiutao said, "I've seen this situation before. Once, in the neighborhood by the dam, the mysterious strong person attacked and the entire neighborhood collapsed like this. Could it be, the mysterious strong person is here?" Psychokinesis was reminded by him and also nodded, "Indeed, I saw it at that time." When Lu Wang heard this, he was also happy. If it's really the mysterious strong person, then that's great. If the mysterious strong person was here, saving more than 1,000 people would not be a problem at all. At this time in the city, Immortal pushed 3 kilometers horizontally. He had already obtained more than 30,000 evolution points. It was enough for him to peacefully sign in for a month. However, he was still not satisfied. He continued to push. After a while, he came to an abandoned school. He recognized it from the stone carving outside the gate that was already covered by hay. Chang, and City Foreign Language School. Immortal's heart slightly moved. He had signed in so many places, but he had never signed in at a foreign language school. System, sign in. The system replied instantly. Sign in successful. Sign in location, abandoned foreign languages college. Sign in reward, foreign language proficiency, Immortal muttered in his heart. What's the use of being proficient in foreign languages in the apocalypse? He carefully checked the skill description in his mind. Foreign language proficiency. Proficiency in any language on Earth, including zombies and mutated beasts. Yes, that's a good idea, Immortal said in a low voice. After mastering this skill, one would be able to communicate with any zombie or mutant beast. Immortal wasn't willing to mix with zombies and mutant beasts. However, if he wanted to increase his strength, hunting zombies in the wilderness would be a normal thing to do. These zombies and mutant beasts lived in the wilderness all year round. He must have obtained a lot of useful information. Therefore, it was necessary to communicate with them frequently. Just like now. Immortal used his telekinesis and brought over a zombie that looked to be about 12 or 13 years old. A trace of fear flashed in the child's eyes. Obviously, it was a mutated zombie. He had seen the human destroying the city from afar, including everything in the city. Fear had already arisen in his heart. Such a human was not someone he could contend with. Therefore, he had no intention of going over at all. However, for some reason, his body suddenly flew into the air. He quickly flew towards the human. A moment later, he arrived in front of the human. Moreover, at this moment, he was still suspended in the air by an invisible force. His grayish-white eyes were filled with incomparable terror. Immortal opened his mouth and let out a roar from his throat. This was the roar that zombies used to communicate. Tell me, where are the mutated zombies in this city hiding? Immortal said. At this moment, the young zombie's eyes widened. He looked at the human in front of him in disbelief. This human could actually communicate with zombies? How was this possible? In his understanding, after humans transformed into zombies, they had long lost all human characteristics. Even the language system had long since ceased to exist. And after zombies mutated into mutated zombies, they would develop a unique language system. This language system relied on the pitch and length of the voice. There were also various sounds such as snoring, hissing, and other sounds mixed together to form. It was impossible for humans to understand, let alone speak. After all, to humans this language was purely the roar of a beast. But now, the roar of the human in front of him actually connected into a complete sentence. This was simply a fantasy story. Immortal saw that the zombie did not speak, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He used his telekinesis. The zombie youth was directly sent flying by the huge force. He hit the wall. The wall caved in. Then he used his telekinesis again. In the surrounding ruins, 4 steel bars as thick as fingers flew into the air. Ding 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 ding, 4 sounds. The 4 steel bars penetrated the zombie's hands and feet. They directly nailed him to the wall. At the same time, the 5th steel bar also flew up. It pointed directly at the zombie's eyebrows. It hovered less than a centimeter away from the zombie's eyebrows. Seeing this, the zombie was immediately terrified. Mutated zombies were not afraid of death. But this did not mean that they were not afraid. The human in front of him did not even move a finger. He was nailed to the wall and almost killed. Such a mysterious power was not something that a low-level mutated zombie like him could understand. He quickly made a few roars similar to pleading in his throat. I'll talk. They are in the temple under the ancient tower. Puff, as soon as the voice fell. The steel bar had already pierced the zombie's head. 5 steel bars nailed him to the wall on the 3rd floor. This young zombie, although not so ferocious, seemed to be very pitiful. But Immortal would not have any pity for him. If this young zombie was stronger than Immortal, he would be able to kill Immortal. It would also not hesitate to pounce on Immortal. This was nature. If humans pitied them instead, it was purely a brain problem. Immortal was a little excited in his heart. After searching for so long, he still could not find those mutated zombies. Now, after an in-depth communication with this young zombie, It was easy to find out the whereabouts of the mutated zombies. It seemed that he still had to subdue the zombies. And through this he also realized the truth, how important it was to master a foreign language. Then, at a speed of 140 meters per second, he headed toward the tallest ancient tower in the city. After passing by many ancient buildings, Immortal also saw it. This was Chang'an City. Chang'an, the ancient capital of the 13 dynasties. There were also many ancient buildings. Ming city walls, bell and drum towers, big wild goose tower, and so on. Now, whether modern or ancient buildings, they were all covered by weeds. It was December and the cold wind was whistling. Immortal's gaze passed over the withered yellow weeds that were almost as tall as a person. Looking at the big wild goose tower. Looking from a distance, the big wild goose tower had been covered with withered vines and plants. It was full of vicissitudes of time. Chapter 48. It was December and the cold wind was howling. The big wild goose tower stood in the cold wind. It was like an old man who had experienced thousands of years of vicissitudes, overlooking the overgrown Chang'an city. Immortal came to a place more than 1,000 meters below the big wild goose tower. When he arrived here, the surrounding zombies were already densely packed. They were squeezing and bumping into each other. Ayo, roar, hiss, all kinds of creepy noises came out of the zombies' throats. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced on Immortal. Immortal was not afraid at all. Instead, the corner of his mouth revealed a smile. They were here to give him evolution points. Immediately, he used all his telekinesis to activate the 1,000 flying knives and swept towards the thousands of zombies around him. Chi-chi-chi-chi-chi, the black tornado roared and spun at an extremely fast speed. After the black tornado swept through, all the buildings collapsed one after another. The surrounding zombies were almost instantly torn into pieces by the thousands of high-speed flying knives. Flesh and blood splattered and broken limbs flew. Where the black tornado swept through, only a 1,400-meter wide blood-red trace was left. At the same time, on the highest 7th floor of the big wild goose tower, a level 5 strong mutated zombie and more than a dozen level 4 and level 3 strong mutated zombies were looking down at the black tornado that was quickly sweeping over 1,000 meters away. Looking at the 1,400-meter wide blood-red trace left behind by the black tornado. These strong mutated zombies, their gray-white eyes were all shocked. Had humans become so strong to this extent? As strong mutated zombies, they thought that their strength was already the peak existence on Earth. They were planning to gather a large number of zombies after a while. Attack the base hundreds of kilometers away. But they did not expect that a human would be one step ahead of them and attack their nest. One must know that this human was single-handedly armed. Based on the strength he had shown so far, none of the strong mutated zombies here could fight him alone. Leader, what should we do? A strong mutated zombie's eyes were filled with fear, and a trembling hiss came out from his throat. The level 5 strong mutated zombie heard this and frowned slightly. Another strong mutated zombie next to him spoke. Leader, I've heard from the zombies in other territories that this is called psychokinesis. The leader turned his head and roared from his throat. Psychokinesis. That strong variant zombie quickly explained, that's right. It's a very powerful human. I don't know what it is exactly, but from the strength this human has displayed, it should be psychokinesis. Another strong mutant zombie heard the words and roared. If he's that strong, wouldn't we be dead today? That strong variant zombie roared and said, hey. Psychokinesis is powerful, but it has a fatal weakness. The group of strong mutant zombies heard this and looked at the strong mutant zombie. I've heard that psychokinesis is very strong, but the body is very weak. It's as weak as a normal human. So as long as we can get close to him, we can easily kill him. When the leader heard this, anger and hatred appeared in his grayish-white eyes. Then lead him to the blood pool in the north square. The group of strong mutant zombies heard this and frowned. Leader, do we really want to lead him to the blood pool? The leader let out a low roar. This human is too strong. Only the blood pool can let us get close to him. Yes. The group of zombies replied in unison. At the same time, Immortal continued to walk towards the Wild Goose Tower. Under the Wild Goose Tower was the Great Mercy Temple. At this time, more than 50 zombies rushed out from the overgrown Great Mercy Temple. These zombies were all strong variant zombies. It must be known that strong variant zombies were equivalent to hunters. Killing a strong variant zombie would give at least 1,000 evolution points. These 50 strong variant zombies were equivalent to at least 50,000 evolution points. Thinking of this, Emoshir took a step forward. With one step he covered 100 meters and rushed towards the 50-strong variant zombies. This was out of Emoshir's expectations. After those strong variant zombies came out from the Great Mercy Temple, they did not rush towards Emoshir. Instead they followed the collapsed wall of the temple and headed north. Emoshir was slightly startled. They were scared away? That was a bit too cowardly. However, with Emoshir's understanding of zombies, this was not their style. Could it be a trap? However, if there is a trap, then there is a trap. In the face of an absolute difference in strength, all schemes were just a joke. Thinking of this, he followed the wall and chased north. When the 50-strong variant zombies ran to the overgrown square in the north, they suddenly disappeared. Even Emoshir's telekinesis could not detect them. With a thought, the blood demon's pupil opened. In the next moment he saw the square was shrouded in corpse energy. The blood-red corpse energy seemed to be solidifying. Emoshir's heart trembled. Too careless. Just now when he was in the mood to kill, he did not use the blood demon's pupil to observe the surroundings. The blood demon's pupil did not consume his telekinesis and stamina. However, if he used the blood demon's pupil for a long time, Emoshir would feel pain in his eyes and his mind would be slightly dazed. Therefore, under normal circumstances he would not use it continuously. He did not expect to be surrounded by corpse energy because of this carelessness. However, it did not matter. With his level 7 psychokinesis, level 5 hunter, sky splitter dragon spear, genetic martial arts and other trump cards, even if his body was reset, he could easily escape. Therefore, this thick corpse energy not only did not make him panic. On the contrary, it made him feel a little excited. There should be a very strong existence here. If he killed it, he should be able to obtain a lot of evolution points. He used the blood demon's pupil to observe the surroundings. However, he did not see any strong existences around him. Even those ordinary zombies did not dare to take a step forward when they came to the edge of the square. Since there was not a single zombie but there was such a thick corpse energy, this could only mean one thing. Emoshir looked at the ground under his feet. At this moment, rumble, the ground collapsed. Emoshir's reaction was extremely fast. On the surface of his body, fingernail-sized crocodile scales instantly appeared and covered his entire body. At the same time he used his telekinesis to support himself on the ground and levitated. However, the telekinesis flying speed was too slow. On the ground under him, there was already a huge pit with a diameter of more than 50 meters. Under the sunlight it could be seen clearly. In this huge pit, there was a huge blood pool with a diameter of more than 50 meters. This blood pool was filled with a dense blood energy. Under the sunlight, it was suffused with a scarlet blood mist. Ordinary people would probably be scared out of their wits just by looking at it from the side. At this moment, Emoshir was floating in the middle of this blood pool. Chapter 49. Emoshir floated above the huge blood pool with a diameter of 50 meters. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly used his telekinesis to support his body and flew to the side. At this time, blood bubbles began to appear in the blood pool. Soon the entire blood pool was boiling. The blood waves rolled and splashed everywhere. In the rolling blood waves, broken limbs and bodies were mixed from time to time. There were even skulls that were constantly washed out of the pool by the rolling blood waves. Emoshir cursed in his heart. What the hell was this place? At this moment, from the churning pool of blood, a bloody arm stretched out. This arm, as thin as a dry branch, quickly stretched out. Soon it reached more than 20 meters long. It directly grabbed Emoshir's arm. Emoshir's telekinesis moved. A bloodthirsty corpse beheading knife swept past in an instant. Gee, there was a soft sound. The bloody arm had been cut off. With a plop it fell into the blood pool. But almost at the same time, there were hundreds of bloody arms next to him. They grabbed Emoshir tightly. After they grabbed Emoshir, hundreds of needle-like arms grew on each arm and drilled straight into Emoshir's body. However, the surface of Emoshir's body was a layer of hard scales. These needle-like arms couldn't drill in at all. Those arms seemed to be angry. They directly turned into thousands of finger-thick arms. They tied Emoshir up like a dumpling. Then with a plop, they pulled him into the blood pool. Emoshir only felt a strong smell of blood going straight into his nose. Entering the blood pool, there were more arms around him. Suddenly, finger-thick arms grew out of all the arms, wrapping Emoshir up in 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. At the same time, on the cave walls around the blood pool, the strong mutated zombies that had escaped before jumped out one after another. They roared excitedly in their throats. We caught him. This psychokinesis is really powerful. But his body is very fragile. Destroy him. As long as it's trapped, its body will be no different from that of a normal human being. These zombies roared excitedly while rushing towards Immortal. Plop, plop, they also jumped into the blood pool. A strong mutant zombie's sharp blade directly attacked Immortal. However, when its sharp claws scratched Immortal's body, Immortal was stunned. Crack, 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 an ear-piercing sound was heard. Its sharp claws only left a string of sparks on Immortal's scales. That strong mutant zombie was stunned. At the same time, other strong mutant zombies also encountered the same situation. It didn't matter if they used their claws or their teeth to bite. None of them could penetrate Immortal's skin. How is this possible? Isn't it said that psychokinesis's physical body is very fragile? Who said that just now? Come forward. At this moment, a soft roar sounded in their ears. Psychokinesis is all brittle? Who told you that? In the next moment, a claw shadow instantly appeared. Chi. All the strong mutant zombies' bodies were instantly split into two halves. With just one claw, all more than 50 strong mutant zombies were instantly killed without exception. Before they died, all the strong mutant zombies had the same last thought. Who the hell said that psychokinesis's physical body was very fragile? Moreover, this was not the end. Immortal's claw not only cut all the strong mutant zombies in half. Moreover, the invisible force released by this claw actually split the entire blood pool into two. In the blood pool, the hundreds and thousands of arms were also cut off one by one. Then, this chi force extended forward for another 300 meters. On the walls of the blood pool, 5 huge cracks were cut open by the sharp invisible force. These 5 huge cracks were 5 claw marks. Each claw mark extended for more than 300 meters. It extended all the way to the bottom of 2 buildings in the distance. The 2 buildings suddenly collapsed with a loud bang. The blood in the blood pool suddenly flowed quickly from the 5 claw marks. On the 7th floor of the big wild goose tower. When the zombie leader saw this scene, his eyes flashed with fear. This human was actually so strong? With a casual wave of his hand, 5 huge cracks more than 300 meters long appeared on the ground. With such terrifying strength, he was probably already a level 7 or even a level 8 hunter. That was an existence that he could not compete with at all. Also, didn't they say that psychokinesis's physical body was very fragile? But did this guy look fragile at all? It was because he listened to this nonsense that the blood pool was destroyed in the end. One had to know that the blood pool was the foundation of their strong mutant zombies. Thinking of this, the level 5 strong mutant zombie suddenly turned his head and looked at the subordinate next to him. That subordinate was the zombie who said that psychokinesis's physical body was very fragile. Seeing the leader looking directly at him, his body suddenly trembled. Leader, I don't know, I also heard it from the zombies in other territories. Bang, before he finished speaking, his chest was hit. He flew more than 100 meters out of the tower. Only then did he fall. He smashed through a building and smashed into a wall. The leader turned his head and looked at the blood pool that had been divided into 2 in the north square. Fortunately, this blood pool has the ability to recover. It will recover soon. However, a moment later he realized that he was wrong. The blood pool had no intention of recovering at all. The pool of blood quickly flowed along the 5 claw marks. The broken limbs and body parts in the blood pool also sank to the bottom of the pool, motionless. When the leader saw this, his body suddenly trembled. His grayish-white pupils were filled with fear. The blood pool is dead? The other strong mutant zombies next to him heard the leader's words. Their bodies trembled. The blood pool was dead? How was this possible? After mutant zombies reached level 10, they had reached the limit of mutation. They could not advance any further. And the reason why they could surpass the limit and become strong mutant zombies. It was because they absorbed the blood water in the blood pool. In their eyes, the blood water was like holy water. It could provide them with an endless supply of energy. Since the blood pool was discovered more than 10 years ago, the blood pool had always been alive. And the blood pool's recovery ability was extremely strong. No matter what kind of damage it suffered, it could basically repair itself in a very short period of time. But now the blood pool was dead. This made all the strong mutant zombies feel an inexplicable panic in their hearts. Without the blood pool, how could they continue to become stronger in the future? Without the blood pool, how could they get energy? Without the blood pool, how could they create more strong mutant zombies? But the fact proved that they thought too much. Because at this time, thousands of black flying knives had appeared around the big wild goose tower. Then, chi. These 1,000 flying knives instantly attacked all the strong mutant zombies on the tower. The flying knives came from all directions. These strong mutant zombies had no way to escape. Almost instantly they were torn to pieces by these 1,000 flying knives. And the wall of the 7th floor of the big wild goose tower collapsed after being pierced by these 1,000 flying knives. They were all torn to pieces and would never have to worry about the blood pool again. However, when Immortal's flying knife pierced the zombie leader's head, the zombie leader let out a roar. Roar? Immortal understood the meaning of the roar. Lowly human, the king will not let you go. Chapter 50. Only 6 floors remained of the 7 floors of the big wild goose tower. Whether it was hunters or strong mutated zombies. In front of the level 7 psychokinesis Immortal, they were just ants that he could casually destroy. Generally speaking, a level 1 psychokinesis could kill hunters that were 2 or 3 levels higher. Because psychokinesis could control throwing knives to attack. Hunters could not get close at all. Although the level of psychokinesis was very difficult to increase. But with every increase in level, the strength would increase tremendously. So as long as he reached level 5 psychokinesis, he could kill a level 1 hunter. Now, Immortal was already level 7 psychokinesis. Under the control of throwing knives, even level 7 hunters and level 7 strong mutated zombies could be killed with a flip of his hand. At the same time, in the pool of blood that had already dried up. In Immortal's mind, notifications continuously sounded. Frowny face killed level 3 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 3,000. Killed level 2 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 2,000. Killed level 4 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 4,000. The 50 strong mutated zombies gave him 120,000 evolution points. The last level 5 strong mutated zombie gave him 5,000 evolution points. So far, his total evolution points had exceeded 150,000. With so many evolution points, it was enough for him to stay at home for 5 months and get a designated reward. Immortal already had the idea of returning to the base and staying there for 5 months. At that time, 5 months should be enough to raise his telekinesis to level 8. Level 8 psychokinesis should be able to kill any hunters and strong mutated zombies. But thinking about it again, it was rare for him to come out. There were more mutated zombies at the C9 base. As the saying goes, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Why not go there and save the 1,000 people at the same time? Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But Immortal had some doubts in his heart. Before the zombie leader died, it said, "King will not let you go." That king must be an even stronger existence. How strong would it be? Level 6 strong mutated zombie? Or even the stronger level 7, level 8 or level 10? Or even stronger than level 10 mutated zombies? The more Immortal thought about it, the more dangerous the wilderness was. After returning this time, he'd better stay in the base obediently and sign in properly to level up. With that thought in mind, he casually scanned his surroundings. With the help of the blood demon's eyes, he found that the corpse chi here had faded a little, but it did not disappear. Something was wrong. Generally speaking, as long as the zombie was killed, the corpse chi would disappear. Even if there was a blood pool here, the blood in the pool had already dried up. The corpse chi should have disappeared a long time ago. However, the corpse chi in the air didn't dissipate much. Thinking of this, Immortal's eyes searched carefully. Finally, at the bottom of the blood pool, broken limbs and broken bodies were flipped over. He found something strange. On the ground of the blood pool, arms as thick as fingers extended in all directions. If one took a closer look, the shape of these finger-thick arms gave off the feeling that they were the blood vessels of a human body. He used the bloodthirsty zombie slayer to gently pry open an arm as thick as a finger. In that arm, other than a small bone and a small amount of muscle, the rest was a large amount of blood. And when he cut off this arm, he could clearly feel that the other arms had shrunk a little. He cut off several more arms in a row. All the small arms around him had obviously shrunk a lot. At a certain moment, these small arms that looked like blood vessels suddenly moved like hundreds and thousands of small snakes. They quickly crawled back to the ground. Immortal used the bloodthirsty zombie slayer to dig half a meter into the ground. He didn't see the shadows of those small arms at all. He released the Titan Dragon Claw again. With a slight force, he drew a huge gully about 5 meters deep in the ground. However, he still didn't find those small arms. It was as if they had never existed. Immortal frowned. Something was strange. He thought of the zombie leader's words before he died. He secretly guessed that this blood pool and the small arms that looked like blood vessels might be related to the king that the zombie spoke of. In short, he had to leave this place as soon as possible. Thinking of this, he tapped his feet lightly and jumped to the ground. However, just as he jumped to the ground, he felt that the sky suddenly darkened. It was only noon and it was a sunny day. Immortal couldn't help but look up. With this look, a faint smile couldn't help but appear on his face. He saw that the sky above his head was dark. They were all mutated bats. Every mutated bat had a pair of small blood-red eyes. There was no skin on their bodies and their muscles were exposed. They were covered in blood-red mucus. And each bat had a wingspan of 2 meters. Tens of thousands of mutated bats attacked Immortal. The mutated bat king in the lead had a wingspan of 3 meters. It opened its huge mouth, revealing 4 sharp fangs. It roared, hiss. All the mutated bats heard this order and spread their wings. They bared their fangs and roared. 100,000 roars gathered at the same time. 100,000 mutated bats also gathered together. Like a blood-red torrent, they rushed towards Immortal. At the same time, on a hill 2 kilometers away, Lu Wang, Guojutao and Psychokinesis were also watching all of this. Because a large number of buildings in Jianghu and city had collapsed. Smoke and dust filled the air. They could only see a blurry figure. At this time the figure was facing a huge swarm of bats. Guojutao couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Although he knew that this person was likely to be a mysterious expert, the number of bats was too large. And the mysterious expert had been fighting with psychokinesis for so long. The consumption of psychokinesis should also be very large. So now, could he still deal with this huge swarm of bats? In the next moment, Immortal gave them the answer. The tens of thousands of mutated bats attacked Immortal. However, just when they were more than 500 meters away from Immortal, bang, almost instantly all the bats, including the mutated bat king, their heads all exploded into a cloud of blood mist. His body exploded and scattered in all directions. From afar, the dark cloud that was attacking Immortal instantly turned into a cloud of blood. Then this cloud of blood gradually drifted with the wind. Seeing this scene, the 3 of them were all stunned on the spot. They were stunned for a full half a minute. Only then did they realize what had happened. The 3 of them all made a gurgling sound from their throats. Guojutao's eyes were full of horror. In his mind he recalled more than 10 years ago. That night more than 10 years ago. The mysterious expert, motionless, those zombies' heads exploded one after another. And now this scene appeared again. But today the heads of these mutated bats exploded more quickly than those of the zombies more than 10 years ago. The heads of those zombies exploded one after another like dumplings being dropped into a pot. And these mutated bats' heads exploded at the same time. It was as if a huge firework had been set off. The fireworks directly covered the sky near the big wild goose tower. The sky was also dyed blood red. Even stronger. The mysterious expert's psychokinesis seemed to be stronger than 10 days ago when the zombies besieged the city. And psychokinesis next to him was 10 times or 100 times more shocked than Guojutao. Chapter 51. Psychokinesis was 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than the shock in Guojutao's heart. As a level 2 psychokinesis, he had tried to use his telekinesis to blow up the heads of zombies. But after blowing up the heads of 100 zombies, he felt dizzy and almost fainted on the spot. That was when he understood. This move seemed pretentious, but it was not practical at all. It used up too much telekinesis, but the results were mediocre. With this effort he could control 12 throwing knives and easily kill 100 zombies. So from then on he never used this move again. But now, this mysterious elite only needed an instant to blow up the heads of 100,000 mutated bats. How strong was his telekinesis? It must be known that these mutated bats were level 5 mutated beasts. Their heads were 100 times harder than normal zombies. It was 100 times harder to blow up their heads. In the end, they were blown up by the mysterious elite and turned into a cloud of blood. This was not something he could imagine. He estimated that the mysterious elite's telekinesis had reached level 9, maybe even level 10. On the other hand, Lu Wang's eyes flickered. His cheeks were red with excitement. In the next moment he jumped down the hill and rushed towards Chang'an City. "Where are you going?" Guojutao hurriedly shouted. Lu Wang did not turn his head. A voice came from behind him. "Go and ask the mysterious elite. No matter what, you must ask the mysterious elite." This time he made a great decision. He would ask the mysterious elite to rescue the 1,000 people with him at all costs. At the same time, under the big wild goose tower, Immortal retracted his telekinesis. With his current telekinesis, blowing up the heads of 100,000 mutated bats was a piece of cake. Although it used up a bit of his telekinesis, it was not even 1/10 of his powerful telekinesis. Moreover, he still had 4 brain cell recovery potions in his backpack. Even if his telekinesis was used up, as long as he took the recovery potion, his telekinesis would recover in 5 minutes. At this time, notifications kept coming in his mind. Evolution points plus 50, evolution points plus 50, evolution points plus 50. The 100,000 mutated bats gave him 5 million evolution points. At this time, his evolution points had reached 15 million. After a rough calculation, every night it would consume 1,000 evolution points. This many evolution points was enough for him to use. In any case, it was enough for many, many years. It seemed that when he returned, he would have to hide in the base and sign in properly. He would sign in until he was invincible and could do whatever he wanted no matter where he went. Then he would come out and crush everything. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from afar. "Mysterious expert, please come with me to save those 1,000 people. I beg you." Immortal hesitated for a moment. In truth, he had enough evolution points for more than 10 years, so he did not want to take the risk and go to such a distant place. The king that the zombie mentioned always made him feel a little uneasy. Furthermore, those arms that looked like blood vessels in the blood pool had suddenly retracted into the ground and could no longer be found. This also made him feel uneasy. At this moment, the system's voice sounded. After collecting 10 million evolution points, the system can be upgraded again. Immortal. System, what's the meaning of this? Why did he have to say it now of all times? However, since the system had said so, he would go and take a look in order to obtain 10 million evolution points. It would not be too late to retreat at that time. In any case, with his speed, there were not many people, zombies or mutated beasts that could catch up to him. In the distance, the voice came again. "Mysterious expert, I beg you. My parents are still there. If you don't go, it will be difficult for us to save them. Even if we save them, it will be difficult to safely escort them to base C1. I beg you." After saying that, a sound came from afar. Bang, bang, bang. Although there was smoke and dust, the sound could be clearly heard. It was Lu Wang who was kowtowing in Immortal's direction. The sound of kowtowing could be heard through the smoke and dust more than 300 meters away. Could be seen how heavy the kowtow was. Immortal sighed and said, "A man's life is worth more than gold. The first is to kneel to heaven and earth, the second is to kneel to parents. Other than that, no one has the right to make you kneel. Get up." Lu Wang, who was in the distance, heard this voice. His body suddenly trembled. Then, the pleading expression in his eyes turned into excitement. This was the first time he heard the mysterious expert's response. As long as the mysterious expert responded, there would be a chance. He was so excited that his voice trembled. "So you agree?" However, there was no response from the dust in the distance. Lu Wang was stunned. He looked disappointed. Listening to the mysterious expert's words, did he agree or not? At this moment, Guojutao also came over. Seeing Lu Wang, a level 4 hunter, kneeling on the ground, he couldn't help but be surprised. After all, in the base, every hunter had an extremely high status. As a level 4 hunter, Lu Wang's status was even higher than that of an ordinary hunter. At this moment, he was kneeling on the street full of ruins. How could he not be surprised? However, after thinking for a while, he knew the reason. He asked softly, "Did the mysterious expert agree?" Lu Wang was stunned for a moment, then nodded. But then he shook his head. Guojutao asked softly, "What do you mean?" Lu Wang repeated the situation just now. Hearing this, Guojutao's eyes flashed with ecstasy. He reached out and gently pressed on Lu Wang's shoulder. He comforted him. "It's been more than 10 years and the mysterious expert has never responded to anyone. Since he responded to you today, he must have agreed." Lu Wang couldn't believe it. "Really?" Guojutao patted Lu Wang's shoulder gently. He said, "You're the first person in more than 10 years who can make the mysterious expert respond. Maybe, your filial piety touched him." Lu Wang's face finally showed a happy expression. "If that's really the case, that's great," Guojutao said in a somewhat feminine voice. "The mysterious expert helped us get rid of the bats. The road is clear. Let's hurry up and go." Lu Wang nodded heavily. Then he stood up. In the direction of the mysterious expert, he bowed deeply twice. "On behalf of the 1,000 people in base C9, on behalf of my parents, thank you." Guojutao was also full of sincerity and bowed. At this moment, Mo Shi had already left Chang and city from the other side. In the blood pool just now, the vein-like arm made him feel uncomfortable. He should leave this place as soon as possible. However, although he decided to go to base C9 to save people, he didn't plan to go with these people. He was a person who was afraid of trouble. The more people there were, the more trouble there would be. Soon he rushed 3 kilometers away. He had already reached the front of the rescue team. He used his telekinesis. The 3 zombies and 2 mutated beasts within a diameter of 1,400 meters had their heads pierced by a few black throwing knives. Now he had to work hard to save 10 million evolution points. Therefore, he had to walk in front of these people and clean up the zombies and mutated beasts. He continued to walk forward and crossed a mountain ridge. The highway passed through a village. Mo Shi's 1,000 throwing knives wandered around the village. He gained more than 1,000 evolution points. At the same time, the rescuers who were 1 kilometer behind him had already found the zombie corpses lying on the side of the road. Chapter 52. Mo Shi didn't go with the rescue team. Instead, he walked a kilometer or 2 ahead of them, clearing the zombies. At this moment, the rescue team finally noticed the abnormality. Deputy Commander Guo, look. A zombie hunter pointed to a place not far ahead. Everyone looked in the direction he pointed. They saw a zombie lying in the grass on the overgrown road. Its body had been corroded by something and only a small part of it was left. Blood was still oozing out of the wound. It gave off an unpleasant smell. It died not long ago, Lu Wang said. Everyone had some guesses in their hearts. They continued to move forward. Not long after, they found another 2 zombies lying on the side of the road. There was also a mutated rat more than a meter long. At this time, someone finally voiced out their guess. It's the mysterious strong man. His words seemed to have turned on the other's voice switch. It must be. Only the mysterious strong man can kill these zombies and mutated beasts without making a sound. This discovery caused everyone to be overjoyed. If the mysterious strong man could go with them, then their success rate would be much higher this time. And the danger would be much lower. I always thought the mysterious strong man was cold. I didn't expect him to be so considerate. He actually helped us clear all the zombies in front. A level 10 zombie hunter said. Guojutao rolled his eyes at the zombie hunter and scolded softly. Who said the mysterious strong man was cold? That's nonsense. The zombie hunter quickly shrank his neck. Deputy Commander, I said too much. I deserved it. As he said that, he slapped himself twice on the face. Everyone burst into laughter. The atmosphere suddenly relaxed. Lu Wang's face was full of excitement and gratitude. In the next few days, Mo Shi led the way in front. The rescue team's speed was much faster. They could walk 70 to 80 kilometers a day. And this was to take care of psychokinesis. Psychokinesis's body was like an ordinary human's body. If they walked too much, they couldn't bear it at all. These rescue team members wanted to walk faster and catch up with the mysterious strong man in front of them. They wanted to see who the mysterious strong man who had troubled the entire base for more than 10 years was. However, no matter how fast they walked, the mysterious expert was always 1 or 2 kilometers away from them. And as time passed, the mysterious expert seemed to have sped up on purpose. It was getting further and further away from them. When they were about to reach base C9, they were already 10 kilometers away. On the other hand, Mo Shi had obtained more than 500,000 evolution points in the past few days. His total evolution points were close to 6 million. He looked up at the mountain pass in the distance. After crossing the mountain pass, they would arrive at base C9. He should be able to obtain a lot of evolution points there. That morning, the sky was gloomy. The north wind howled. The wind whistled through the trees. It sounded like the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. Not long after, the snow began to fall like dandruff from the heavens. In just over 10 minutes, the ground had turned white. Everyone looked toward the mountain pass in front of them. The northern wind had already enveloped the mountain pass with heavy snow. Mo Shi slowly walked forward. Braving the wind and snow, they arrived at the mountain pass. There was already half an inch of snow under his feet. Everyone looked forward. He saw a large river at the foot of the mountain. On the other side of the river was a huge ruin. Base C9. Looking from afar, one could only see a stretch of dilapidated fences and broken walls. Collapsed walls, destroyed buildings. Just 5 months ago, this place was still full of life. But now it was dead silent. Lu Wang saw this and his heart sank. 5 months. although the resources of the underground shelter could last these 1,000 people for half a year. But who knew if something unexpected would happen during this time? Everyone followed the highway ramp that was already covered with weeds and entered the toll station. The sissy Guojutao gestured to everyone to be careful. No one knew how many zombies there were in this city, although there was a mysterious expert nearby. But everyone still had to be careful. Otherwise, no matter how strong a person was, they would not be able to bring along a pig teammate. After entering the city, everyone became even more careful. Guojutao asked Lu Wangxian to lead more than 10 people to scout the way. The rest of the people stayed in an abandoned school to provide support. Lu Wang couldn't wait any longer. He led the dozen or so people towards Central Park at a fast and careful pace. The underground of the park was the underground shelter. At this time, Immortal had also quietly sneaked into the city. But he did not expose himself. Instead, he went into a building. He used his telekinesis to clear the zombies in the building and came to the 47th floor of the building. From the window he looked out at the entire city. His blood demon eyes had already seen through the flying snowflakes and saw a large amount of corpse energy gathering in the Central Park. Sure enough, when Lu Wang and the dozen people just arrived at the entrance of the Central Park. At the top of the park gate, a strong mutated zombie suddenly appeared. Seeing the arrival of humans, it did not immediately pounce on them like other zombies. Instead, it opened its mouth and roared to the sky. Roar! Suddenly, within a radius of a few thousand meters, tens of thousands of zombies rushed toward the dozen or so humans. They surrounded the dozen or so humans. Of course, there was psychokinesis among these humans. These tens of thousands of ordinary zombies were no match for them at all. Psychokinesis controlled 12 throwing knives and took only a few minutes to clean up the tens of thousands of zombies. When Immortal saw this, his heart was not moved at all. If it was before, these tens of thousands of zombies would be tens of thousands of evolution points, he might feel heartache for a while. But now that he had more than 6 million evolution points, these tens of thousands of evolution points were not in his eyes at all. His pupils were blood red. The blood demon eyes kept sweeping back and forth. On the wall, the strong mutated zombie saw that ordinary zombies were no match for these humans. It opened its mouth and roared again. Roar! The snowflakes in front of it under this roar were like waves rippling away layer by layer, accompanied by its roar. In the park that was already overgrown with weeds, hundreds of mutated zombies suddenly rushed out. At the same time, hundreds of mutated zombies also rushed out from the half-collapsed buildings behind them. When Immortal saw this, his eyebrows slightly furrowed. Although these hundreds of mutated zombies were strong, but they were far from reaching the point where the corpse energy was so dense. There must be something strange in here. So he still did not move. The humans below, dealing with these 200 mutated zombies was not a problem. Sure enough, these 200 mutated zombies were not enough for Lu Wang alone. In a moment, blood flowed everywhere, broken limbs and bodies were everywhere. In the end, after more than 200 mutated zombies were killed, more than 10 strong mutated zombies appeared. But these more than 10 strong mutated zombies were only level 1 and level 2. They were still not a match for these humans. After killing all the powerful mutant zombies, everyone could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It seems that after 5 months, those strong mutated zombies and mutated beasts have already retreated. That's right, otherwise there would not be so few strong mutated zombies here. Hurry up, open the shelter. Otherwise, when other zombies and mutated beasts smell the blood here, they will quickly rush over. Sissy Guojutao ordered. Lu Wang nodded heavily. Immediately he led everyone into the park. On the roof not far away, Immortal's blood demon eyes stared at a certain place in the park. Chapter 53. Central Park. The weeds were now as tall as a person. Although this used to be a base and had only been abandoned for half a year, the vitality of the weeds was far beyond people's imagination. Everyone stepped on the weeds and carefully walked inside. After walking for more than 100 meters they saw a rockery. Lu Wang saw the rockery from afar. His eyes flickered, looking excited and nervous. He said in a low voice, "The entrance to the underground shelter is next to the rockery." Everyone was also happy. Their footsteps also quickened a little. A moment later they arrived next to the rockery. There were also some mutated zombies and ordinary zombies near the rockery. Psychokinesis used throwing knives to easily get rid of these zombies. Then everyone followed Lu Wang and went up the rockery. Halfway up the rockery, under the stone wall, there was a huge rock that was as tall as a person. Lu Wang kicked the huge rock away. A metal door was revealed behind the door. The metal door looked much thicker than ordinary security doors. Lu Wang tried to knock on the door. The rhythm changed, 3 long and 2 short. Inside the door there was no sound. Lu Wang's expression changed slightly. Then he knocked 3 more times in a row. There was still no response. Lu Wang's expression suddenly became ugly. His voice was slightly trembling. He said, "When I left, I made an agreement with them. If anything happened, I would bring people back to rescue them." The effeminate Guojutao gently placed a hand on his shoulder. He said, "Don't worry, try again." Lu Wang nodded. He continued to knock for a while. The more he knocked, the colder his heart became. "My parents are still inside, my parents are still inside." At a certain moment he seemed to be unable to bear this huge pressure anymore. He threw a few fierce punches at the metal door. Bang, bang, bang. Although the metal door was thick, it could not withstand the continuous bombardment of a level 4 hunter. Finally, boom, it collapsed with a bang. A pitch-black passage appeared in front of everyone. Lu Wang was about to walk in. But Guojutao pressed on his shoulder again. Then he waved his hand and psychokinesis's telekinesis probed into the door. However, in the next moment, psychokinesis's expression changed drastically. He exclaimed, "Spread out." Before he could finish his sentence, a huge head popped out of the hole that had just been opened. He opened his mouth and bit down on psychokinesis. Ah! Psychokinesis's screams had just been heard. It had already been swallowed by the head. When everyone saw this, their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly fled in all directions. When he looked back, he saw that the head was the size of a square table. Oval shape. Clearly, it was the head of a blood-red python. However, there were more than a dozen 1-meter-long barbs on its head. After swallowing the psychokinesis, it raised its huge head and roared at the sky. Roar! The ceiling above his head also opened up. In the next moment, a huge body suddenly jumped out. The door in the passageway was unable to withstand the impact and collapsed with a loud bang. At this moment, everyone finally saw its true appearance. It was a mutated python that was about 50 meters long. The giant python's body was covered with distinct blood-red scales. On its back there were triangular ridges. It roared at the sky and swam towards everyone. Guojutao did not hesitate. His right arm quickly changed and quickly turned into a 100-meter-long drill bit. With Guojutao's combat experience, he could naturally tell that this giant python was not an ordinary mutated beast. It was a strong mutated beast that was even stronger than mutated beasts. It was estimated that its level had reached around level 3. Therefore he used a genetic weapon the moment he attacked. His drill bit rotated at high speed and pierced the giant python's body. Ding 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 ding, sparks flew everywhere. The giant python's body rolled slightly. The drill bit was deflected and hit the fake mountain beside it. Rumble, the fake mountain that was more than 20 meters tall suddenly collapsed with a loud bang. When everyone saw this, their expressions turned grave. Even a genetic weapon could not do anything to it. The strength of this giant python had probably reached level 4. It might even be higher. However, this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that when they were confronting this mutated giant python, more than 20 giant pythons jumped out from the surrounding grass. The strength of these giant pythons was extremely terrifying. Psychokinesis flying knives could not even pierce through their scales, not to mention injuring them. Next, they tried to use rockets and other genetic weapons to attack these mutated giant pythons. However, the bodies of these mutated giant pythons seemed to be cast from copper and iron. No matter what methods they used, they could not break through their defense. However, the rescue team did not despair. This was because they knew that there was a mysterious powerhouse standing behind them. At this moment, they only needed to do their best and persevere in battle. The mysterious expert would naturally appear. Soon, these humans and the mutated giant pythons fought. However, with their strength, they could not even deal with one mutated giant python, let alone more than 20 of them. Right at this moment, Immortal finally made his move. He leaped and directly jumped down from the top of a tall building that was dozens of stories high. Boom! The ground under his feet cracked inch by inch under the huge impact. The shock wave formed when he landed caused the flying snow in the air to suddenly roll outwards. Then his right foot touched the ground slightly. Whoosh! In an instant he jumped 150 meters. With both feet touching the ground, his speed was extremely fast. In just more than 10 seconds he had already arrived on the battlefield. When a mutated giant python saw Immortal pouncing over, its giant tail suddenly slapped towards Immortal. Immosure's body slightly tilted. That giant tail slapped the ground. Instantly, a gully more than 10 meters long was created. Immosure's mind power moved. A bloodthirsty corpse-slaying flying knife was taken out. Whoosh! The corpse-slaying flying knife easily pierced through the mutated giant python's head. It was as easy as piercing a piece of paper. Swish swish! A bloody hole suddenly appeared in the mutated giant python's head. And this bloody hole was still bubbling with blood, making a sizzling sound. That mutated giant python did not even let out a scream. Its huge head crashed to the ground with a bang. Then the second and third giant pythons were easily pierced through by his flying knife. At this time, the other mutated giant pythons saw that this human who suddenly appeared was so strong. One by one they gave up attacking others. Instead they all pounced on Immosure. Immosure was surrounded by 18 berserk giant pythons that were more than 50 meters long, but he was not afraid. With just a flying knife he constantly pierced through these giant pythons. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Every time there was a sound, a giant python died under the flying knife. When the people who were fighting saw this scene they were all ecstatic. The mysterious expert had finally arrived. Moreover, this time there was no smoke or blood fog around. They could clearly see the appearance of this expert. He was in his 20s, wearing a very unique camouflage uniform that was similar to the color of animal skin. Although he did not look particularly handsome, he gave people a very special feeling. Everyone was a little surprised. They had thought that the mysterious expert would be a human in his 40s or 50s. After all, more than 10 years ago, before even the corpse hunters appeared, the mysterious expert had already appeared. But they did not expect that the mysterious expert looked like a young man in his 20s. This contrast made it difficult for them to accept for a while. Chapter 54. In the park, amidst the flying snow, Immosure slowly moved forward. This time he did not deliberately hide his figure. With his current strength, there was nothing in the entire base that could harm him. Naturally, there was no need to deliberately hide. A pitch-black flying dagger that was more than a foot long was hovering around him. Only mutant pythons dared to come up. The black flying knife would instantly turn into a black light and pierce through their heads. For a moment, everyone in the rescue team was extremely excited. The mysterious powerhouse. He finally appeared. It's been more than 10 years, and this is the first time I've seen the mysterious powerhouse. It's a blessing of 3 lifetimes to be the first to see the mysterious powerhouse with my own eyes. The mysterious powerhouse had been hiding in the base for more than 10 years. He had become the biggest secret of the entire C1 base. He had extraordinary strength and saved the base from danger several times. But he had never revealed his true identity. No matter who it was, from the base chief to Old Lee of the corpse farm. They all wanted to see the mysterious powerhouse's true appearance. And now, more than 50 of them had become the first group to see the mysterious powerhouse with their own eyes. How could this not make them excited? And among all these people, there were 2 people who had fallen into a daze at this time. One was a level 10 corpse hunter. Cross-eyed Xiaodou. He fell into a daze that lasted for a few minutes. His mind was blank, and his face had long been occupied by various expressions of shock, disbelief, and so on. 7 or 8 years ago he was just a corpse farmer. He was a colleague of Immosure. Later, when he was injected with the gene enhancer, he successfully strengthened his body and became a corpse hunter. On the same day he moved out of the corpse farm. Since then he had never gone back. In his opinion, raising corpses was the lowest job. It was not easy to get out of the corpse farm. How could he go back? Later, on the way he occasionally met Old Lee and Immosure, but he treated them as strangers. Because he felt that he was a corpse hunter and his status was noble. He disdained to have anything to do with a group of corpse farmers. However, at this moment, God seemed to have played a big joke on him. His former colleague, the corpse farmer Immosure that he looked down on, turned out to be the mysterious powerhouse who had saved the base from danger several times. The mysterious powerhouse who single-handedly killed millions of people. Xiaodou felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His entire worldview was shattered into pieces. He thought about how he had met Old Lee and Immosure in the base and how Old Lee had wanted to greet him. However, he turned around and ignored them, hurriedly passing by. He immediately felt his cheeks burn with shame. Now that he thought about it, Immosure probably thought of him as a clown back then. The mysterious expert that he had been longing to meet all these years was actually a colleague that he used to see every day. It was laughable that he had looked down on him. What qualifications do I have to look down on him? Actually, Xiaodou was overthinking things. Emotion did not take him seriously at all. The other person who was shocked was Guojutao, the vice leader of the hunter group. He was so shocked that he forgot to retract his genetic weapon. He stood there in a daze. His gaze was fixed on Emotion, who was slowly walking over. Others might not know Emotion, but as the former vice captain of District A's corpse hunting team, he had naturally seen Emotion before. The corpse breeder and the mysterious expert. The two of them were like heaven and earth. But now, the two of them were actually the same person. Heaven and earth. How was this possible? At this moment he thought back to more than 10 years ago. That blurry memory gradually became clear. At that time he was still the vice captain of District A's corpse hunting team. He was eating in the cafeteria with the captain and the others. Then they heard a loud noise coming from the gym. When they hurried over to take a look, they saw that the dynamometer in the gym had been uprooted. It was thrown more than 30 meters away by something. It was also twisted into a fried dough twist. When they went over to check, Emotion was holding a dustpan and a broom, stupidly standing at the entrance of the gym. He was obviously scared out of his wits. He remembered that when everyone passed by Emotion, almost all of them pulled him aside. They felt that he was a hindrance. Later they looked everywhere for that mysterious creature, but they did not find any clues. They did not expect that today this mystery would finally be solved. The mysterious creature at that time turned out to be Emotion, the one they thought was stupid. Indeed, this way everything could be explained. It was laughable that at that time he and the captain had called Emotion over many times to ask what had happened at that time. When Emotion said that he did not know, he and the captain had impatiently waved their hands and told him to scram back to raising pigs. Now that he thought about it, all of this was so laughable in Emotion's eyes. At that time, Emotion probably already thought of them as idiots. Of course, Guojutao was thinking too much. At that time, Emotion did not even take them to heart. At this time, Emotion's throwing knife killed those mutated giant pythons one by one. These mutated giant pythons had already reached level 4 to 6 strong mutated beast. Those hunters below level 4 could not hurt them at all with their genetic weapons. But Emotion's bloodthirsty corpse-slaying throwing knife was the bane of zombies. Together with Emotion's tyrannical telekinesis, he could easily kill these mutated giant pythons. As for why Emotion did not use other throwing knives to kill all the mutated giant pythons at the same time, this was because he felt that things were a bit strange. So he left the other throwing knives in his backpack first in case of any accidents. At this time, Guojutao recovered from the shock of Emotion. He subconsciously looked at Lu Wang. He was a person as careful as a woman. Lu Wang must have been very anxious when the mutated giant pythons suddenly jumped out of the underground shelter. After all, his parents were still in the underground shelter. He wanted to comfort Lu Wang first. However, when Guojutao's gaze swept across everyone, he found that Lu Wang was not at all. He looked around again. With this look, he saw that Lu Wang had already left the battlefield and was running in the direction of the park gate. "Lu Wang, where are you going?" Guojutao shouted. However, Lu Wang did not turn his head. At the same time, at the gate of the park, there were thousands of mutated zombies rushing in quickly. Among them, there were hundreds of strong mutated zombies. Lu Wang alone actually rushed straight towards these zombies. Without hesitation. Everyone heard Guojutao shout and turned their heads to look. Then they all cried out in surprise. "Lu Wang! Lu Wang, come back quickly. With the mysterious strong person here, everything can be solved. Come back quickly. He must have gone to attract the attention of these zombies and wants us to go to the underground shelter to see if those people are still there." Guojutao's heart surged with hot blood. In order to buy time for them, Lu Wang faced thousands of mutated zombies alone. This was definitely a one-way trip. Gritting his teeth, he shouted softly. "The 5 of you follow me to the underground shelter. The rest of you guard the entrance." However, they did not have time to act. Then they saw a scene that shocked everyone. Chapter 55. At this moment, everyone saw a shocking scene. They saw that Lu Wang was only 10 meters away from the thousands of zombies. But those zombies had no intention of attacking Lu Wang. And Lu Wang did not attack those zombies. The zombies even opened up a path for him. Lu Wang immediately sprinted out of the tunnel. At this moment, everyone looked at each other. What was going on? Even Guojutao, who was the quickest thinker, could not figure it out. Their eyes followed Lu Wang all the way. Until Lu Wang walked to the front of a building in the distance. 2 strong evolved zombies escorted out a middle-aged man and a woman. Lu Wang strode to the man and the woman. He hugged the man and the woman tightly. Then he took the man and the woman and quickly left in the wind and snow. At this moment, everyone in the rescue team felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Their faces were full of confusion. Guojutao was completely dumbfounded. His shock and disbelief were no less than the shock and disbelief when he found out that Immortal was the mysterious strong man. What did they see? After half a minute, Lu Wang and the man and the woman had disappeared in the wind and snow. Only then did some people come back to their senses. Damn it, he betrayed us. It's not betrayal, it's king trap from the beginning. He came to our base to ask for help, just to lead us to the encirclement of these zombies. There are number 1,000 survivors. There are only his parents. CK. Even the most elegant person couldn't help but want to curse at this moment. They followed this bastard, risking their lives, and walked for more than 500 kilometers. To rescue the 1,000 survivors. To rescue his parents. But they suddenly found out that it was all a scam. How could they not curse out loud? But soon, someone came back to their senses. If he just wanted to lead us to the zombies, he didn't have to go so far. He could have let the zombies kill us on the way. With this reminder, everyone also came back to their senses. The mysterious strong man. Someone said. Then all of their eyes fell on the mysterious strong man. Lu Wang did it for the mysterious strong man. Only a mysterious strong man could make the zombies put on such a big show. No wonder Lu Wang had repeatedly requested the mysterious expert to come with him to rescue the non-existent 1,000 humans. He didn't even hesitate to kneel down and kowtow twice. Thinking of this, flames of anger rose in everyone's hearts. Damn it, this brat wants to harm the mysterious expert. Son of AB*T. He harmed the mysterious expert, which means he harmed our entire base. This kid isn't human at all. It's a dog, a beast. What's scarier than zombies and mutant beasts is this kid's heart. At this time, Immortal only glanced indifferently at the place where Lu Wang disappeared. He sighed mockingly in his heart. There are always unruly people who want to harm me. Betrayal? A trap. In the face of absolute power, all of this was just a child's prank. Along the way, he had already noticed that something was not quite right with Lu Wang. The strength of the zombies that he had killed along the way was not something that Lu Wang could deal with. With Lu Wang's strength as a level 4 hunter, it would be difficult for him to survive for more than a month in such a wilderness alone. He also noticed that every time Lu Wang heard the words mysterious strong man, his eyes would flicker slightly. Others might think that Lu Wang was hoping that the mysterious strong man would come with him to save his parents and the 1,000 people. But Immortal had the blood demon pupil. The blood demon pupil could not only see the zombie aura, but also see the details that ordinary people could not notice. He always felt that there was something wrong with Lu Wang's flickering eyes. So he had been on guard against him. This was the main reason why he didn't go with the rescue team. But at this time he was slightly puzzled. Obviously, Lu Wang had some kind of secret deal with the zombies. But how did he communicate with the zombies? Could it be that he also understood the zombie language? Everyone saw that the mysterious strong man knew that he had fallen into a trap, but there was not a trace of emotion on his face. They all felt a lot more relieved. At the same time, they admired the mysterious strong man even more. Perhaps only the strength of the mysterious strong man could be so indifferent, not happy with external gains and not sad with personal gains. At this time, Immortal controlled the throwing knife with his telekinesis and killed a mutated giant python. A notification appeared in his mind. Frowny face killed a level 6 strong mutated beast, plus 6,000 evolution points. He moved his telekinesis again. Shio. The foot-long throwing knife was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It reaped the lives of these mutated giant pythons. In his mind there were continuous notifications. Evolution points plus 4,000, evolution points plus 4,000. Soon more than 20 mutated giant pythons were killed. His evolution points increased by another 100,000. At this time he turned his head and looked at the 1,000 mutated zombies and the 100-strong mutated zombies that surrounded him. This number was still increasing. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 mutated zombies. 100, 200, 300 strong mutated zombies. The members of the rescue team all had grave expressions on their faces. It must be known that strong mutated zombies were equivalent to a hunter's strength. 10 strong mutated zombies were enough to keep them busy. Not to mention 100. At this moment, a faint smile appeared on the corner of Immortal's mouth. Everyone saw the smile on his face. A trace of surprise rose in their hearts. The mysterious strong man was actually smiling. It could be seen that these 100-strong mutated zombies were nothing in his eyes. In fact, they were wrong. In Immortal's eyes, the strong mutated zombies were considered evolution points. A strong mutated zombie was worth at least 1,000 evolution points. If it was a level 2 or 3 strong mutated zombie, it was worth 2 to 3,000 evolution points. 300 strong mutated zombies was probably close to 1,000,000 evolution points, in addition to the 3,000 mutated zombies. In total, it was estimated to be about 2,000,000 evolution points. So many evolution points made him secretly happy. The corner of his mouth revealed a smile that came from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, on top of a building in the distance, a zombie and a bird were standing there. On the zombie's face there were 3 claw marks. The flesh at the corner of its mouth was peeled off by the claw marks. One could directly see the sharp teeth inside. The bird was a fleshless owl with a pair of bat wings. At this time, the mutated owl's mouth let out a screech. Leader, you have successfully broken through to a level 8 strong mutated zombie. This human is probably only a level 5 hunter. This time you can crush this human. The zombie with 3 claw marks also let out a screech from its throat. This human is a psychokinesis. He is stronger than the average level 5 hunter. However, speaking until here, his eyes showed a trace of disdain. In front of me, he is just an ant. Do you know that humans watch circus? The mutated owl nodded. I know. They will sit in a shed and watch some animals or clowns perform. Speaking until here, the mutated owl's eyes lit up. It hissed, Leader, you are saying that in your eyes, he is just a clown. Chapter 56. The zombie leader heard the owl's words. It didn't answer. It just laughed like a broken gong from its throat. Gg. The mutant owl also laughed and said, I understand, leader. Then let's watch this clown's performance first. At this time in the Central Park, more than 3,000 mutated zombies and more than 300 strong mutated zombies rushed towards Immortal and the others. And around the park, there was still a steady stream of mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies, surrounding Immortal and the others. Everyone's face was stern. Holding the weapons in their hands tightly, they were ready to fight to the death at any time. The sissy Guojutao couldn't help but look at Immortal at this time. He asked carefully, Emo? The strong, our entire rescue team is under your command. What do you want us to do? Hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. The mysterious strong man was the most powerful existence. He could burst out the strength comparable to the gods. No one dared to disobey the mysterious strong man's command. However, Immortal only said 2 words in a flat tone. Watch. Everyone was stunned. At this time, Immortal had already shown 900 flying knives. 900 extremely high-tech black flying knives were suspended around them. Each flying knife was more than a foot long. Their whole bodies were as black as ink. The shape of the flying knives was similar to a short knife. The blade of each flying dagger was composed of dozens of components. With just a glance one could feel 3 words, high, big, high. The 2 psychokinesis saw such flying knives and looked at each other. They both understood the meaning of that glance. Compared with the flying knives of the mysterious strong man, their flying knives were simply broken. These flying knives, even if not 1,000, were close. To be able to control 1,000 flying knives. How strong was the psychokinesis to be able to do this? Immortal used his psychokinesis to control these 900 black flying knives. It didn't form a black tornado like before. Instead, it condensed into the shape of a black python more than 20 meters long. Don't you like to play with snakes? I'll let you see what a real snake game is. The black python more than 20 meters long flew in the air. Almost instantaneously, they arrived in front of those mutated zombies. The huge mouth suddenly opened, because the giant python was condensed from flying knives. When the huge mouth opened, the flying knife could rapidly expand outwards. It looked like a giant python's head had suddenly expanded many times over. The huge mouth also instantly expanded by more than 20 times. Hundreds of zombies were swallowed with just 1 bite. At the same time, the flying daggers in the python's body were spinning rapidly. The zombies that were swallowed into its body were minced into pieces in just a few seconds. Moreover, every bloodthirsty corpse beheading flying dagger would release a strong acid after absorbing the blood of zombies. Therefore, once those zombies were swallowed, they would be corroded by the strong acid. In the end, it turned into black smoke. The giant python's huge mouth continued to swallow. Only black smoke could be seen coming out from behind it. It looked as if it had been fitted with a diesel engine. Everyone was secretly horrified. In just over a minute, over 1,000 zombies were buried in the python's stomach. Furthermore, not a single drop of blood or bone was spilled. This was a steel monster that ate zombies without spitting out their bones. Although there were still zombies around to replenish. But the replenishment speed was not as fast as the black python's swallowing speed. On the top of the building in the distance, the claw-marked zombie saw this and was slightly stunned. This human's telekinesis seemed to be slightly stronger than he expected. But soon, a look of disdain appeared on his face again. After he broke through to level 8 strong mutated zombie, his strength had increased by a lot. How could this human be his opponent? What a joke. Thinking of this, he opened his mouth and roared, "Roar!" This was an order to those mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies. Let them change their fighting style. Those zombies received the order and immediately left some to deal with the black python. Most of the strong mutated zombies attacked those humans. All the humans saw those strong mutated zombies attacking and they were all shocked. The mysterious strong man was now controlling the flying knife python to clean up the surrounding zombies. He had no time to care about their surroundings. It seemed that they had to take action. However, there were more than 200 strong mutated zombies rushing over. Plus more than 1,000 mutated zombies. Their mere 50 people were simply not enough to deal with them. However, in the next moment, around them, suddenly 100 black flying knives appeared out of thin air. These 100 black flying knives circled around them and spun rapidly, forming a black flying knife barrier. The two strong mutated zombies that rushed the fastest were instantly minced into pieces by this flying knife barrier. The next moment, the hundreds of strong mutated zombies had no time to stop. They also rushed into the flying knife barrier. Puff 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 puff. All the strong mutated zombies were also minced into pieces and thrown out the moment they rushed into the flying knife barrier. As for those mutated zombies, needless to say, there was no suspense at all and they were also minced into meat paste. More than 1,000 mutated zombies, more than 200 strong mutated zombies. In just a few seconds they were all killed in an instant. The surrounding was suddenly filled with a pungent smell. Every piece of meat was emitting black smoke. In a short time, it melted into a pool of blood. All the rescue team members looked at each other. They thought that the mysterious strong man was busy using the flying knife python to clean up the distant zombies and had no time to deal with the nearby zombies. They did not expect that so many strong mutated zombies would be killed in an instant. This strength was simply beyond their imagination. It turned out that when the mysterious strong man said to let them watch, he really just let them watch. On the other hand, the two telekinesis masters were far more shocked than the rest of the people. Multitasking. One of the psychokinesis said in shock. The other psychokinesis just nodded in shock, unable to speak at all. As psychokinesis, they clearly knew how difficult it was to multitask for psychokinesis. Using telekinesis to control the flying knife and carry out precise attacks, this itself required a lot of effort to practice. Not to mention that while attacking with the flying knife, they also had to divide their attention to defend. Now the mysterious strong man not only used the flying knife to condense the giant python to devour those zombies. At the same time he could also control the flying knife to form a defensive barrier to defend. This ability was something that they did not even dare to think about. If every psychokinesis could multitask like the mysterious strong man, then wouldn't psychokinesis have no weakness? Of course, this would never be possible for them. Soon, Immortal's flying knife python had completely devoured the surrounding zombies. The nearby zombies were killed by the flying knife barrier after thousands of them were killed. They began to feel fear and wanted to turn around and run away. But under the double attack of the flying knife barrier and the flying knife python, they could only die. At the same time, the evolution points in Immortal's mind increased sharply. Chapter 57. At this time, the 3,000 mutated zombies and 300 strong mutated zombies had all been cleared by Immortal. Immortal's mind was already filled with notifications of his evolution points increasing. Killed a level 3 mutated zombie, evolution points plus 300. Killed a level 2 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 2,000. Killed a level 3 strong mutated beast, evolution points plus 3,000. In the end, after killing all the zombies, his evolution points had increased by 2 million. His total evolution points had reached 8.97 million. Close to 9 million. Emoshir could not help but look forward to it. He did not know what new functions he would get after the system upgrade this time. He also did not know what rewards he would get. At the same time, at the top of a building in the distance, the zombie with claw marks finally had some changes in its gaze. This human was stronger than it had imagined. In all honesty, with his strength as a level 8 mutant zombie, it was not impossible to kill so many mutant zombies and mutant zombies. However, it would not be as easy as this human. This human's telekinesis was really strong to a terrifying degree. The mutated owl at the side saw the leader's gaze flicker. It hissed, "Leader, if you don't personally act, I'm afraid you won't be able to kill this human." The zombie leader roared, "When watching a circus you must watch it all." The mutated owl wanted to say something, but it suddenly heard the mountain pass in the distance. An earth-shattering hiss was heard. Hiss, AO. When this earth-shattering hiss came out, the snow that was fluttering down seemed to have stopped for a moment. The mutated owl was slightly stunned, but it immediately understood. So the leader still had a card. At this time in the Central Park, when everyone heard this cry, each and every one of them was horrified and shocked. This hiss was actually able to make everyone feel as if their hearts were trembling along with it. It could be seen that the strength of the creature that could make this hiss was not something they could imagine. At this time, after Emoshir had killed those zombies, he knew that there were still more than 2,000 mutated zombies and 200 strong mutated zombies within a kilometer of him. However, he did not immediately chase after these zombies. This was because his blood-red demonic eyes had already seen the corpse aura at the mountain pass. At this time he heard this hiss. His heart slightly trembled. It seemed that it was something extraordinary. However, he did not panic at all. With his current speed he would not be able to defeat that creature. However, escaping was not a problem. He wanted to lose before he thought about winning. This was Emoshir's usual style of doing things. Before doing anything he had to think of a way out. At this moment, through the heavy snow in the sky, he could vaguely see a blood-red python slithering along the highway. At a glance, this giant python was actually over 100 meters long. On the giant python's head, which was as huge as a house, there were dozens of huge barbs that were more than 2 meters long. Every barb was like a javelin. On both sides of the giant python's neck, there were cobra-like folds of flesh. At this moment, the folds of flesh had already opened up like two huge fans. It looked extremely aggressive. It crawled across the river. The thick layer of ice on the surface of the river instantly cracked. It crawled over the ruined building. The dilapidated building collapsed. It crawled across the abandoned parking lot. In the parking lot, the cars creaked and turned into sheets of metal. It climbed to a distance of 1 kilometer from Central Park. Everyone finally got a clear view of its entire body. It was 100 meters long and its diameter was more than 3 meters. Each of the blood-red scales was about half a meter in diameter. When this 100-meter-long python crawled across the city, the already dilapidated buildings were directly turned into ruins. This 100-meter-long python did not pay attention to those humans at this moment. In its opinion, humans were just mere reptiles. Its pair of blood-red eyes stared straight at the flying knife python that was more than 20 meters long. Its eyes were filled with anger. As an overlord among the giant pythons, it would not allow another giant python to show off in front of it. Even if this was only a giant python condensed from flying knives. Hiss! The folds of flesh on its neck expanded a little more. At the top of the folds of flesh, more than 20 spikes even appeared. This made it look even more ferocious. This roar was a declaration of its sovereignty. It was a strong mutated beast that had reached level 8. Since its mutation, it had never encountered a snake that was stronger than it. Any snake had to submit in front of it. Despite that, not only did the flying knife python not submit, but it also roared at the flying knife python. Instead, it also raised its head. Folds of flesh also appeared on its neck. The inner folds opened and kept trembling. In its mouth, there was a hissing sound of metal rubbing against each other. This was the sound of the hundreds of flying knives in the flying knife python's mouth that Emoshir controlled, constantly rubbing against each other. The 100-meter-long python was instantly furious. A small 20-meter-long snake dared to show its power in front of it? In the next moment, the 100-meter-long python's upper body stood up more than 20 meters high. It was actually much higher than the 6-story building next to it. Then its tail propped up and its body suddenly catapulted out. It opened its huge mouth and pounced on the flying knife python. In front of the 100-meter-long python, the 20-meter-long flying knife python was like a lonely boat in a storm, too weak to withstand the wind. However, in the next moment, The flying knife python suddenly opened its mouth. A large amount of dark green liquid suddenly sprayed out of its mouth. It sprayed out more than 50 meters. It was sprayed on the neck of the 100-meter-long python. Chi chi chi, as soon as the liquid came into contact with the scales of the 100-meter-long python, there was a sound like water being poured on fire. The scales of the 100-meter-long python were instantly corroded into a large hole. The 100-meter-long python immediately fell to the ground. It smashed down several giant trees with a diameter of half a meter next to it. It seemed to have been electrocuted, twisting its body in pain. It kept roaring like a pig being slaughtered. Ow hiss, ow hiss. A hole was quickly corroded into its body under its scales. The flesh and bones in the hole turned into blood water, bubbling with blood. Black smoke rose from its body. In just half a minute, the 100-meter-long python was broken into 2 parts. And the corrosive strong acid still had no intention of stopping. It continued to corrode the 2 parts of the python, until it was completely corroded. Only a large pile of blood-red mucus was left on the ground. And this mucus was still bubbling, corroding the hay and the ground below. When all the rescuers saw this scene, their mouths were half open and their eyes were wide open. This 100-meter-long python was probably a level 8 mutated beast. In front of this 100-meter-long python they were basically ants. But now this 100-meter-long python was killed in an instant. And the one who killed it in an instant was a 20-meter-long flying knife python. The most unbelievable thing was that the flying knife python could spit out corrosive liquid. After all, it was condensed from flying daggers. It was not a living thing at all. How could it spit out liquid? Even if they scratched their heads, they could not figure it out. Chapter 58. A 20-meter-long steel python condensed from flying daggers killed the 100-meter-long python in an instant. No one had expected this. But what they couldn't figure out was how a steel python could spit out something from its mouth. They didn't know that this was Immortal's intention. After Immortal's telekinesis reached level 8, he could control the release of acid from the bloodthirsty corpse slaying flying dagger at will. The steel python had swallowed more than 3,000 zombies without wasting a single drop of blood. Just think about it, how much acid would be converted into. When the 100-meter giant python attacked, Immortal used his telekinesis to force the acid out. From the perspective of others, it looked like the steel python had spat out acid. In the distance at the top of the building, the mutant owl saw this scene and its eyes narrowed. Its hoarse voice trembled a little as it said, "That's right. Leader, you have to do it yourself. This human is too strong." As soon as it finished speaking, the leader leaped. It fell from a building that was dozens of meters high to the ground. Boom! It was the same as Immortal's previous jump from a tall building. The ground cracked inch by inch. The shock wave sent the falling snowflakes flying in all directions. Then the leader took a step. One step was more than 180 meters. Thump, 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 its feet tapped continuously and it quickly jumped forward. Seeing this, the mutant owl secretly praised in its heart. After the leader was promoted to level 8, it was indeed much stronger. However, the next moment, the mutant owl was stunned. The direction the leader jumped in wasn't the human at all. Instead, it jumped into the distance. Wait, the leader actually ran away? The mutant owl couldn't figure it out. It immediately spread its wings and flew in the direction the leader ran. Flying above the leader's head, it asked in a hoarse voice, "Leader, why didn't you kill this human?" The zombie with 3 claw marks let out a zombie growl and said, "After a while, I will be promoted to level 9 strong mutant zombie. At that time, I will kill their base and kill this human." The mutant owl was speechless. These words sounded familiar. A few months ago, when the leader was still a level 7 mutant zombie, he had said the same thing. But then again, this human was clearly much stronger than before. If that was the case, when the leader became a level 9 variant zombie, how strong would this human be? Thinking of this, the mutated owl turned its head and looked at Immortal through the wind and snow from afar. Then it flapped its wings and quickly followed its leader. At the same time, Immortal killed the 100-meter-long python. He looked around with his blood demon eyes. There wasn't too much corpse energy in the vicinity. On the other hand, there was still corpse chi gathering somewhere after they crossed the mountain. With a thought, thousands of flying daggers began to clean up the remaining mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies. Any zombie would be easily minced into meat paste under his flying knife. When the rescue team saw how powerful the mysterious expert was, they were shocked. They all had the urge to worship him. Just how strong was the mysterious expert? It seemed that until today he had never seen an opponent who could withstand a single blow from the mysterious expert. He was so strong that he didn't seem human. Thousands of flying daggers, wherever they passed, not even a blade of grass was left. Even the remains of the buildings. After the flying daggers flew past, they all collapsed. It took half an hour to clean up the zombies in the entire city. Immortal's evolution points had reached 9.57 million points. He only needed the last 400,000 points. He couldn't help but shake his head slightly. Then the blood demon eyes crossed the mountain in front of him and looked at the corpse Chi there. It seemed that he had to go there again. Thinking of this, he tapped his feet lightly and quickly left along the snow-covered road. Behind him, the rescue team members were all stunned. Where is the mysterious expert going? Do you want to go and see? Better not. With the mysterious expert's performance these years, he doesn't seem to like being disturbed. Everyone looked at each other and couldn't make up their minds. In the end, everyone's eyes fell on Guojutao. He was the strongest person here and also the vice leader of the hunting group. At this time he naturally had to make the decision. Guojutao thought for a moment and said, I know everyone wants to go and see. I wanted to. Then, let's go and see. But if we annoy the mysterious expert, everyone will say that they are worried about him and followed to see. Everyone nodded when they heard this. Then they followed Immortal's back and walked in the direction of the mountain. However, Immortal's speed was very fast, 150 meters per second. And in order to take care of the two psychokinesis, they could only go 5 or 6 meters per second at most. At this time, the weakness of psychokinesis's body was exposed. These two psychokinesis were also very helpless. There was no other way. Psychokinesis's fighting strength was strong, but their bodies were so weak. The heavens are fair. You can't have both sides, right? But soon they all thought, there really was someone who occupied both sides. It was really enviable. While Immortal was running in the direction of the mountain pass in front of him, he saw a string of footprints on the snow in front of him, extending into the distance alone in the snow. He wasn't surprised. When he was fighting in Central Park just now, his blood demon eyes saw a corpse aura on the roof of a building in the distance. Although it was only the corpse aura emitted by one zombie, it was stronger than the corpse aura of the 300-strong mutated zombies added together. So at that time in the park he waited for this corpse aura to come. But what he didn't expect was that not only did the corpse aura not come, but it also escaped at an extremely fast speed. The footprints now should be left by the owner of the corpse aura. Looking at the direction of the footprints, it should be on the other side of the mountain, where the corpse aura was pervading. Soon he went over the mountain in front of him. Immortal saw a mountain about a few hundred meters high in front of him through the heavy snow. At the foot of the mountain, about 5 kilometers away from him, there was a village. Above the village, the corpse aura was pervasive. The blood-red corpse aura was so dense that it seemed to be solidifying. And the place where the footprints pointed was obviously that village. Immortal paused his footsteps. He took out a bottle of brain cell recovery medicine and drank it. Although in the battle in Central Park, he didn't even sweat. He consumed some of his mental power but only 20%. But in this village the corpse aura was too dense. So it was better to be careful. It was always right to restore his mental power to its peak state first. At the same time, Immortal was also thinking of his own escape route. If there was a powerful existence in the village, how could he escape? Thinking of defeat before thinking of victory. This was Immortal's consistent style of doing things. After all, this was the apocalypse. Only survival was the way to go. Chapter 59. Before Immortal did anything, he didn't want to win, he wanted to lose first. It was the same at this moment. Especially when he saw the speed of the strong corpse energy leaving just now, it was probably about 180 meters per second. Obviously this was a level 8 strong mutated zombie. Although Immortal believed that with his current strength, crushing a level 8 strong mutated zombie wouldn't be a problem. But there was always a chance. What if something unexpected happened? At that time, even if he wanted to escape, his speed would be far inferior to that level 8 strong mutated zombie. Therefore, before going to that village he had to think of a way to escape. After thinking about it, Immortal couldn't think of any way. He couldn't rely on those rescue teams. They wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps between the strong mutated zombies' teeth. He shook his head. Immortal sighed helplessly. Forget it, I'll sign in first and see if I can get anything good. He originally planned to stay in the ruins of the C9 base for today's sign-in opportunity. But his attention was only on that strong mutated zombie just now and he didn't have time to sign in. Now that he urgently needed a way out, he could only try signing in here. But he didn't have much hope. It would be strange if he could sign something good in this desolate mountain range. System, sign in. Soon, the system responded, frowny face, sign in successful. Sign in event, tracking a level 8 strong mutated zombie. Sign in reward, dragon shadow step. Immortal was slightly stunned. There was indeed something wrong. The event sign-in mechanism finally came in handy. The event sign-in mechanism, immediately signing in after doing something special, would give a special reward. He hadn't used it much before. He didn't expect that this time, following the footprints of the level 8 mutated zombie, it would be activated. He focused and looked at the skill description. Dragon Shadow Step. The footwork left behind by the Wind Dragon Emperor when he walked in the human world and transformed into his human form. As fast as lightning. Using this footwork will leave an afterimage in the shape of a giant dragon, hence the name. When Immortal saw this, he was delighted. What he lacked really came. He was worried that his speed wouldn't be as fast as that level 8 strong mutated zombie, so he signed in the Dragon Shadow Step. At this moment he only felt a wave of information in his mind. How to use the Dragon Shadow Step, all the techniques were poured into his brain. And in that instant he learned the Dragon Shadow Step. In the next moment his figure moved slightly. He instantly disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared he was already 1,000 meters away. 1 second, 1,000 meters. Looking back, he didn't even leave any footprints in the snow behind him. Dragon Shadow Step was not teleportation. However, his running speed was so fast that it looked like teleportation. When he used Dragon Shadow Steps to rush over, he was clearly stepping on the snow. But now there were no footprints. Traceless snow steps. Immortal couldn't help but think to himself, this Dragon Emperor is really strong. He looked at the place where he was standing before. A gigantic dragon-shaped phantom was left behind. Although the shadow was blurry, one could still make out its rough outline. This gigantic dragon-shaped phantom was 10 meters tall. From beginning to end, it was more than 20 meters long. When he spread his wings, they were actually more than 20 meters wide. Even though it was just an illusion, it seemed to be filled with a powerful pressure. Sure enough, anything that was related to the word dragon was basically related to awesome. Moreover, this Dragon Shadow Step consumed very little physical strength. Could be used for a long time. Immortal couldn't help but admire the Wind Dragon Emperor who created the Dragon Shadow Step. At this moment, after using Dragon Shadow Step to cross 3,000 meters, he had a better understanding of the Dragon Shadow Step in his mind. He understood that the Dragon Shadow Step he was using now was only at the entry level. There were still 3 levels after that: small success, large success, and great perfection. This made Immortal look forward to it. The entry level was already 1,000 meters in 1 step. How strong would the great perfection be? Then he slowed down and walked slowly towards the village filled with corpse aura. After all, this was a place where corpse aura gathered. Naturally, he had to be careful. At the same time, in the center of the village, in the farmyard, the zombie with 3 claw marks had just returned. The mutated owl was also on a fence post in the yard and had just landed. At this moment, a zombie outside the door growled and said, "Leader, a human is coming towards the village." When the mutated owl heard this, its wings couldn't help but flap twice. It made a hoarse sound. The leader's heart also trembled slightly. That human was actually chasing after them like a ghost. As the leader of these zombies, he used to be the one who hunted those humans. When had he ever been chased by a human? It was simply a great humiliation. Thinking of this, he suddenly turned his head. The 3 claw marks on his face seemed to have blood oozing out. In his grayish-white eyes, anger burst out and he roared, "This human is too much. Send out all the strong mutated zombies." The zombie outside the door quickly lowered its head and roared, "Yes." The next moment, accompanied by the roar of the zombie outside the door, the originally quiet mountain village was suddenly filled with roars. More than 500 mutated zombies let out earth-shattering roars and rushed out of those houses. They ran straight towards Immortal at the entrance of the village. At the same time, the zombie with 3 claw marks turned around and headed towards the backyard. Outside the backyard there was originally a field. Before the outbreak of the zombie virus, the wheat, corn, soybeans, and other crops that the villagers collected were all peeled, dried, and bagged on this field. But now, on this field, there was a huge blood pool with a diameter of 50 meters. Above the blood pool there seemed to be a thick layer of blood mist. A thick smell of blood spread out in all directions. The zombie with 3 claw marks with a plop jumped into the blood pool. In the blood pool the blood water began to bubble. Gradually, like boiling water, waves of blood began to surge. In the blood pool dozens of finger-thick arms stretched out and climbed up the body of the zombie with 3 claw marks. Finally, the zombie with 3 claw marks was completely wrapped up. Like a blood dumpling. The zombie with 3 claw marks secretly roared in his heart, "Mere humans, a group of reptiles. With the support of the blood pool, you are just ants in front of me." At the same time, Immortal had already arrived outside the village. 500 strong mutated zombies with earth-shattering roars rushed out of the village. Immortal, however, had a smile on his face. If it was other people facing so many strong mutated zombies, they could only see death and despair. But what Immortal saw was evolution points. So many strong mutated zombies. It was enough to let his evolution points reach 10 million. Thinking of this, he moved his telekinesis slightly. 900 throwing knives instantly appeared in front of him. In the next moment, it turned into a black python more than 20 meters long. It flew towards these strong mutated zombies. In front of these strong mutated zombies, its head instantly expanded more than 10 times. The huge mouth also expanded more than 10 times. The huge mouth suddenly opened and swallowed more than 10 strong mutated zombies. Chapter 60. With Immortal's current strength, even level 8 strong mutated zombies would flee upon seeing him. Not to mention these strong mutated zombies that were only level 1 to 5. The flying knife giant python continued to devour these strong mutated zombies. These strong mutated zombies were also considered smart. They deliberately avoided the flying knife giant python's head. However, they seemed to have forgotten that this was a giant python formed by Immortal's flying knives. Not only could it devour its head, its back, abdomen, tail, anywhere. It could open a huge mouth at any time and devour the zombies. Although these 500 strong mutated zombies also had a speed of more than 100 meters per second. But compared to the flying knife giant python controlled by Immortal's telekinesis, it was much worse. In a short 5 minutes, these 500 strong mutated zombies were completely devoured by the flying knife giant python. At the same time, in Immortal's mind, the evolution points had already reached more than 10 million. The system's voice sounded frowny face. Evolution points have reached 10 million. The system can be upgraded. Do you want to upgrade immediately? Immortal was happy and said, "Upgrade." The system replied instantly. Frowny face. This upgrade requires 12 hours. Unable to sign in during the upgrade. Immortal was already familiar with these things, so he didn't pay attention to them. A trace of expectation rose in his heart. After the system upgrade, what kind of reward would he get? His gaze swept across the mountain village in the snow. The blood demon pupil appeared. The air above the mountain village was still shrouded in corpse aura. Obviously there was still something strange in the village. At this moment the ground suddenly shook. In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar suddenly burst forth. Roar? The snowflakes above the entire village were swept away by this roar. The poplar, apricot, and walnut trees in the village, the snow on top of them were slowly shaken off by this sound. In the center of the village there was an ancient scholar tree. The branches of the ancient scholar tree were covered with snow. At this moment, under this sound, the ancient scholar tree seemed to be unable to bear the burden. Kacha 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 sounds continued to sound. The withered tree branches were all broken. The adobe house at the back of the village that had not been lived in for decades shook twice under this sound. It collapsed with a bang, smoke and dust flew, scattering the flying snow. In the next moment, beside the ancient scholar tree, a huge figure appeared. This gigantic figure was completely blood red. He was more than 50 meters tall. The muscles on his body bulged like a mountain. The most terrifying thing about it was that it had 3 ferocious heads with exposed fangs. On its body there were 6 thick arms. 3 heads and 6 arms. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the extra 2 heads and 4 arms were all formed by blood-red arms. Not only that, its gigantic body was actually formed from blood-red arms. In other words, this was a giant formed from blood-red arms. Ordinary people would be scared to death with just one look, or at least wet their pants. Even Immortal furrowed his brows. There were more and more demons and monsters in the wilderness. Moreover, he could clearly feel that the giant formed by the arm was emitting a terrifying pressure like a mountain. This was a natural pressure formed by the strong against the weak. When other zombies faced Immortal, they could also feel this natural pressure. Immortal thought to himself. In terms of level, this big guy's level had probably reached level 10 strong mutated zombie. With his current strength, he had no chance of winning in front of a level 10 strong mutated zombie. That natural pressure actually caused him to have an impulse to submit to it. Obviously, this guy was far from what he could compete with. It seemed that he had to use his trump card. If that move didn't work, he would immediately use Dragon Shadow Steps to escape. At the same time, on the mountain in the distance, the 49 members of the rescue team had also appeared. When they heard the earth-shattering roar and looked towards the mountain village, each and every one of them was filled with shock. What did they see? A giant creature with 3 heads and 6 arms more than 50 meters tall. Even when they saw the 100-meter giant python before, they were not so shocked. After all, a 100-meter giant python was still within their scope of understanding. But what kind of monster was this thing with 3 heads and 6 arms? Moreover, even if they were 5 kilometers away, they could still feel a natural pressure. That terrifying pressure wasn't physical. It was a psychological deterrent. That strong pressure made them not dare to look directly at the monster. It even made them have an impulse to kneel down and surrender. Everyone's hearts were filled with terror. How powerful was this creature to make them have such an impulse to surrender? Facing such a powerful creature, could the mysterious strong man handle it? They had been very confident in the mysterious strong man before. But this time they were a little less confident. After all, even the mysterious strong man had never made them have the impulse to kneel down and surrender. Deputy Commander Gua, what should we do? Several hunters asked one after another. Guojutao's eyes were full of shock. After a while he turned his head back. He looked at Immortal, who was at the entrance of the village. At this time, Immortal was facing the terrifying creature with 3 heads and 6 arms. He was like a lonely and helpless child. Guojutao wanted to help Immortal, but after thinking about it for a while, he realized that if they got close to the village, Immortal would definitely die. Not to mention other things, just the psychological pressure that was as heavy as Mount Tai could make all of them collapse. Only someone as powerful as the mysterious expert could stand so close to the monster without collapsing. Thinking of this, he said to everyone in a feminine voice, "A battle of this level is not something we can participate in. Just stay here and watch." Everyone was silent when they heard this. The appearance of the mysterious strong man made them feel very useless. Now, when the mysterious strong man was fighting, they could only watch from afar. Even watching from 5 kilometers away, he had to bear a great deal of psychological pressure. It could be imagined that they were thousands of miles away from the mysterious strong man. At this time, in the mountain village, beside the huge ancient scholar tree with a diameter of more than 5 meters, the huge 3-headed 6-armed monster seemed to think that the ancient scholar tree was in the way. It waved one hand gently. Crack! The ancient scholar tree with a diameter of more than 5 meters was broken into several pieces like paper. The dead branches scattered in all directions. A few houses nearby were smashed and collapsed. The huge 3-headed 6-armed monster looked at the tiny human at the entrance of the village. It roared in its throat, "Lowly human, pitiful reptile, die." In the next moment, its 6 thick arms formed by tens of thousands of arms suddenly extended. In an instant they stretched out hundreds of meters and grabbed at Immortal. Dozens of tentacles stretched out from the tip of each of its arms, making threatening gestures as they pounced on Immortal. Chapter 61. The 50-meter-tall monster with 3 heads and 6 arms did not move towards Immortal. Instead, it stretched out 6 arms that looked like giant rafters. Those arms instantly extended hundreds of meters and attacked Immortal. On each arm there were more than 10 tentacles. Hundreds of tentacles pounced towards Immortal with bared fangs and brandished claws. Immortal could feel that the tentacles contained a mysterious and powerful power. With his current strength he could not withstand it at all. There was no time to think. His entire body was instantly covered by the mutated giant crocodile scales. At the same time, the blood on his right arm squirmed rapidly. His entire right arm turned into a pitch-black axe blade. The axe blade was more than 3 meters wide and looked extremely sharp. In the next moment, Immortal leaped lightly with the dragon shadow step. He instantly moved 1,000 meters to the left. He avoided those tentacles. In the air, the axe blade in his hand chopped down at the tentacles that were pouncing towards him. When he chopped down, all the strength in his body was condensed on the axe blade. The axe blade instantly lengthened and widened. It became incomparably huge. It was like a huge black wall that was hanging down from the sky. It chopped down with a loud bang. Immortal did not stop as he chopped down with the axe. The tip of his foot tapped lightly again. The dragon shadow step was used. His figure instantly retreated 1,000 meters. A 20-meter-tall, 30-meter-wide dragon-shaped afterimage was left in place. A moment later, this afterimage slowly disappeared. At the same time, he looked up again. He saw that the entire mountain village had long been divided into two by a 5-meter-wide, unfathomably deep ravine. And that huge monster with 3 heads and 6 arms had already been divided into 2 halves. It slowly fell to both sides. It did not even have time to scream. Behind it, the mountain that was hundreds of meters tall also had a huge crack that was 5 meters wide. From this side of the mountain, one could directly see the other side of the mountain. The break of the mountain was as smooth as a mirror. On the distant mountain. When the 49 people saw this scene, they were all tongue-tied. For a long time they could not say a word. The wind had stopped. Heavy snow rustled down. The sound of it falling to the ground could be heard clearly. After a full 2 minutes, someone finally broke the silence. Too strong. This exclamation pulled everyone back from their shock. The mountain-splitting axe is so terrifying. It's funny that I was worried about the mysterious expert just now. Everyone felt the same way. They were indeed worried about the mysterious expert just now. After all, even though they were 5 kilometers away, they still had the urge to kneel down and submit. From their point of view, this was a monster that was even stronger than the mysterious expert. Even if the mysterious expert was undefeated, he might not be able to win. At most, it would be a draw with the monster. But he never expected that. Instant kill. It was still a one-hit kill. In front of the mysterious powerhouse, there seemed to be nothing that could not be killed in one move. He was unbelievably strong. Unimaginably strong. Thinking of the huge axe that almost filled the entire world, they could only look up. This was especially true for the hunters. They knew that the huge axe earlier was the genetic weapon of the mysterious expert. They were all hunters and their genetic martial arts could extend over 100 meters. It swept through the zombies and mutant beasts within 100 meters. They already felt that they were strong enough. But now, compared to the mysterious expert's genetic martial art that could extend for several kilometers and split a mountain with a single chop, it was trash. Not only one person, but all the hunters' genetic martial arts were trash. Xiaodou looked at the mountain that was split open and the 5-meter-wide crack. After a while, she remembered a poem that she learned in elementary school. The gate of heaven is broken and the river opens. In front of the small mountain village that was split in half. Immortal was also shocked. He did not even pay attention to the system notification in his mind that he had received 10,000 evolution points. Originally, after he used his genetic martial art, he immediately used Dragon Shadow Step to retreat. He was worried that he would not be able to kill the monster with one chop. He did not expect that the genetic martial art would be so strong after using all his strength. That monster's strength had probably reached level 10, a strong mutant zombie. Although its aura was not stable, it seemed to have just entered level 10. But it was still not something he could deal with. In the end, the genetic martial art was so domineering after using all his strength. The axe split the monster in half, and even the mountain behind it was split in half. But after thinking about it, he understood. Right now he possessed the Titan Dragon gene. His genetic martial art was naturally much stronger than a normal hunter's. Normal hunters could only grow bone spikes on their arms and use them as hidden weapons to attack the enemy when they least expected it. But Immortal's arm could directly condense the Sky Splitter Dragon Spear. Could be seen how perverse the Titan Dragon gene was. It was so perverse that it could support him to kill a strong enemy that was level 5. However, although this genetic martial art was perverse, every time he used it at full strength he would use up more than half of his stamina. Now he felt that his legs were weak. He quickly retracted his genetic martial art. Then he used his telekinesis to investigate a radius of 1,400 meters to prevent other strong mutant zombies from sneak attacking. At the same time he was prepared to use Dragon Shadow Step to escape. Under his telekinesis investigation, he discovered that another zombie had crawled out from the monster's body that was split in half. There were 3 claw marks on the zombie's face. The skin on its mouth was torn off by the claw marks. It looked extremely ferocious. But at this moment, the claw mark zombie had no strength left. Immortal guessed that it must have used some method to forcefully increase its strength, causing its body to be greatly exhausted. At this moment, the claw-marked zombie's legs had disappeared. Only 2 short bloodstakes were left. It supported itself on the ground with both hands and crawled towards the ancient scholar tree with difficulty. It roared in a low voice, "Blood pool, blood pool." The blood pool was the foundation of mutant zombies and could allow them to quickly recover their strength. As long as it crawled to the blood pool, its body would be able to recover again. Then, it would escape from this place and seek revenge on this human after becoming stronger. However, when it crawled to the side of the ancient scholar tree that had already been broken, a feeling of despair that covered the heavens and the earth instantly assaulted its heart. It saw that the blood pool had been split in half from the middle by the axe just now. The blood in the blood pool had long been drained dry. Those thin arms that were like blood vessels in the blood pool were also quickly retracting into the ground. The claw-marked zombie's eyes were filled with despair. "No, no!" Immortal saw this scene and lightly tapped his feet. He left behind a giant dragon's afterimage. His figure instantly appeared in front of the claw-marked zombie. The claw-marked zombie slowly turned around in despair. It lay on the ground on its back. Its grayish-white eyes turned and looked at Immortal with difficulty. In its desperate eyes there was also disbelief. He really couldn't believe that this human could be so strong. Now that he thought about it, he thought that after advancing to a level 8 strong mutant zombie, he could crush this human. How ridiculous this idea was. But after a moment he calmed down. The despair in his grayish-white eyes had disappeared. He looked at Immortal and slowly shook his head. In his throat, he began to laugh like a broken gong. King will not let you go, Chi," before his voice died away. A bloodthirsty corpse-chopping knife had already pierced through his forehead. Buzz buzz, the bloody hole in his forehead quickly melted and became bigger and bigger. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.